Yeah, buddies, it is the Bennington Show. I'm Ron Bennington. Gail Bennington, still on maternity leave. Juliette Bennington, growing. Every day looks like a different person. Hey, anyone in the Carolinas, you should be listening to the Weather Channel. That's now simulcast on Sirius XM Channel 145. And that's for both subscribers and non-subscribers. Hear the latest on the storm with a special presentation of the Weather Channel on Sirius XM, Channel 145 on now, and on all active and inactive Sirius XM radios. So I guess they just load that up, whether your radio in your car is active or inactive. Tell people that, because there's supposed to be these power outages, they say, could go on for weeks. Earl, you've had people in the Carolinas, right?
Yeah. Both sides of the family there. I hope they got out. I hope they're okay.
Your thing is to hope. You don't plan, you hope.
Always. I mean,
close to the coast, or where are they at? Up in the mountains?
All over. I mean, I got family's huge on both sides. So
yeah, I'm sure. Sure it's massive.
Yeah. So
well, good luck to everybody in your family.
Yeah.
Let them know about this Weather Channel 145. Good luck to everybody out there, of course. Hey, we still, this will be the last day that you can get tickets to see an Unmasked that we're doing.
That's with Jim Brewer. That's happening this coming Monday, September 17th, 5 p.m. at the Fat Black Pussycat in New York City. Go to theibang.com for free tickets.
And because it's running at that time, we're going to be doing a best of on Monday, so we can go do this Unmasked with Jim Brewer, which should be a lot of fun. He's going to be on the road with Metallica, and I got to figure out all the details, because it's not like straight comedy. He's doing something with a DJ and giveaways, and it sounds like a very unique deal. So that's Jim Brewer at the well, basically you're looking at the Comedy Cellar, their room at the Fat Black Pussycat. It's a really, really great room. It's a lot of fun. So to get tickets,
you go to the ibang.com. That's Unmasked with Jim Brewer this Monday, September 17th, 5 p.m.
Cool. Well, that hurricane, out of all the natural disasters, it seems like the hurricane might be the spookiest of all, because you just see it and the massiveness of it, just massive. The fact that you can see it from space. Now, I don't want to put down the other natural disasters, but you cannot see them from space.
You don't get the, tornado from space.
Well, there's tornadoes in the hurricane. You know that? Yeah. Like when a hurricane comes, there's normally like a bunch of tornadoes in it. So this is actually what I like to say is a tornado on crack. Also, I don't think there's anything weirder than the eye of a hurricane. When that eye comes over, you're in a beautiful day, and then it comes back and you're back into a hurricane.
That's terrifying. I've never been inside of a hurricane. Well, no, like Sandy, but I don't remember the eye ever happening. Like going over, like
I don't think we got hit by the high. I think we got.
First of all, Sandy wasn't a hurricane.
It wasn't?
It was a tropical storm, which is why when you get in all that Cat 3 and Cat 4, everyone's like, oh, it's dropped down to a 2. That was a tropical storm by the time it hit. It was a hurricane out at sea. When it hit Jersey, it was a tropical storm, but it had that gigantic storm surge. If you remember, it wasn't the winds were not as bad as suddenly the ocean was, in everybody's backyard.
It was like chunks of like Far Rockaway that was not there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Breezy burned down. Like the whole town was on fire.
Yeah, that's because the electrical things go out. The whole thing was a nightmare. I had friends in Jersey that were out for over a week and a half. They were basically camping in their home. Like they're sitting, it becomes... it gets edgy very, very fast. And then they started that, every other day that you can get gas and all that, and food starts disappearing and people are getting weird You know what I mean? The people are getting really weird.
It's like an odd social experiment in a weird way.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not a nice one, though, Earl. Like, you don't go, hey, human beings really are good when it comes to this. Like, we really do need our comforts.
I forgot about the gas storages. I remember just seeing the lines of cars just for hours.
Yeah. They literally said it's the 70s again. Though my mind is going through so many changes. Of course, I don't know if there's anything scarier than an earthquake. I mean, the ground. The ground gives out.
Breaks apart and like, can you fall through cracks?
Yeah. If there's a crack, you can fall.
I mean, I've never been around an earthquake, and that's like my big fear is falling through the cracks of the earth.
That's a good fear to have. I mean, instead of what's that?
What about sinkholes?
Instead of thinking that you have a weird phobia, just know that's a good, solid phobia.
Okay, good.
You don't want to fall into the earth under any circumstances.
I was in London, and I was in Hyde Park, and there was a game going on, a softball game going on.
Wait, what?
I'm going somewhere. And the pitcher was part of, I think there was a massive earthquake, I think in Greece. She was there that morning, and somehow she got out and got there and everyone was like, what was that like? She goes, I was asleep, and she said she hit the ceiling because the force of...
Oh, yeah.
She said she was hit the ceiling.
None of this has to do with the softball. You usually just said, I met this girl, and an earthquake was so powerful, she hit the ceiling.
I just wanted to set it up a little bit.
Yeah, you set it up with like, hey, I'm in London, because I'm a world traveler. I want to play softball. Well, that's a hell of a story, Earl. I'd like to get you on the Weather Channel. It's happening right now for subscribers and non-subscribers. Sirius XM channel 145. Quite frankly, I feel like I want to go and volunteer there and be on. When I worked in Florida, we used to have a hurricane room, which was all the supplies that we needed in case a hurricane came. The radio station had to say on it, and you would sign up for hurricane duty. People would sign up, and if it was their time, and they would come around with a clipboard and they go, when can I put you on for hurricane duty? I go, oh, I'll be phoning in from about 500 miles away. Because the whole idea, everybody in Florida used to go, oh man, hurricanes are great. Everyone goes to the big hotels and parties and it's all great. And I'm like, oh, and they go, yeah, man, you can't wait till you're here for a hurricane. It's really, really fun. Everyone gets drunk. And then Andrew hit, and then no one ever joked about a hurricane again. Everyone's like, please leave. Get out as fast as you can. That hurricane hit Florida last year, and my family was over in like Clearwater area. So they went way inland. It missed Clearwater and came straight up through Orlando. So they basically drove, bought a hotel room, not the whole hotel, just a room, and was right in the path of the hurricane. But they put together a softball game, and this girl from Greece, wow, she had a thirst for knowledge. I like to throw a little bit of that in there. You know what I mean? I'm a Britpop guy, or I'm not going to lie to you about that. What side of the big Britpop are you on?
I loved Oasis.
Mm-hmm. But
I dug Blur.
Yeah, you got to pick one though.
But I mean, Oasis, they just was the whole package. You know what I mean? It was just, It was attitude. They just said what they wanted to say. They did what they wanted to do.
It's really funny because they were like real, ready to throw fists kids. But then all their songs were really fucking sweetheart.
Sentimental.
Yeah.
I was like a big Oasis fan in high school. I bought tickets to see them. Mm-hmm. A week after I bought the tickets, they broke up and fucking canceled the tour and just gave me my money back. And I'd waited years to finally be old enough to go to a concert and see them.
One of the funniest things you'll ever hear is Noel Gallagher doing the audio commentary, because they did a video compilation or DVD, and half of it is like, when did we do this? Oh my god, I was pissed out of my brain when we did this. Oh, I remember we did coke off the runway because there was a helicopter coming in.
They did it off the runway?
He was just telling these crazy stories, mainly about doing coke and being hungover.
I've never done coke off the fucking floor. You know what I mean? Like, never like, hey, soak those lines down on the floor. It'd be fantastic.
Do a key bump at least.
Thank you, Chris. You're a gentleman. Right? Yeah, the problem with a key bump, it's like if you're, in a car or something, and you're like, we can't do rounds. We're going to do key bumps. You don't really, you know what I mean? It's like dark. I'm just going to tell you. We were heading into a titty bar one time, and we were just doing key bumps. And my whole fucking head froze. And I was like this. Oh, shit. This might be the one that went too far. Muffins fucking. And I go like this. All right, now I feel it. You know what I mean? I'm okay.
It's back.
You ever have that like little situation of like you're just like, oh Jesus Christ.
Yep.
This is not so fun. Oh, it's fine. I'm gonna do another one.
We were doing keep ups in the car in college, and I got to the bouncer, and he wouldn't let me in because I didn't realize it spilled all over.
Oh God!
Fucking mess.
Yeah, just tell him that you're eating powdered donuts. This sounds like a meeting instead of a show. Earl, we're gonna dose you because you're straight edge.
I don't know how I avoided it all, but I did.
Especially being at NEW, or the big rock station. Everyone around you must have been high.
No, everyone was clean by the time I got there.
Really?
Yeah, everyone was in recovery.
Everyone but one. No, yeah. Well, most of the fun people are in recovery because then they're like, oh man, this was the old days. I'd be doing this. I'd be like, oh really? Because that's a massive amount of drugs you're talking about. Somehow I think that it's gotten bigger as your life went on, but I don't think you'd be doing that much drugs. I know guys like that. They're always like, you just be at a show or something. This feels great, just being sober and being cool here, I don't have to worry about, did I kill a hooker last night? I know, dude. I know. I mean, if this was the old days, yes, you'd be so fucked up. I know. You're telling me all the time.
It's like a subtle confession while he was doing it.
Well, it's the old humble brag. I mean, I'd be like, I don't know if you could do a whole trash bag full of coke. I mean, you're always telling me you did. There's a lot of guys that do this till they go, and that's back when I did it. That's when fucking coke was coke. All right, not like these shit that these millennials do. I'm talking about really fucking pure coke. Okay,
right.
Looks like it's no. I'll let it work out. I don't even like to watch the news where they try to figure out where it's going. It is what it is, and when it's over, we'll clean up the best we can. Move on with it. Chris Stanley. This weekend you're going to be where?
I'm going to be in Philly at the Keystone Comic-Con.
Wait, you're going to that?
Yeah, I'm going to be there.
Why?
I'm your producer. I want to be there.
No, this has nothing to do with the show.
Oh.
This is somebody else's show. This is really Big J's show. And those tickets that we were giving away are all gone.
Gone.
But that's going to be a good time. Earl, I need you there, though. You know why, right? You're fucking Mr. Philly, okay? You know where everything's happening. And you can get me into North Philly. And you know what I mean? I could head in with you.
Kind of like a liaison?
I hope so. I go, he does all the talking. What do you got playing this weekend, Vito?
I'm just working. It's a big buyout event at the Piers.
What do you mean buyout event?
Sometimes they buy out the entire field house.
Who is it? The Rockefellers?
No, just insurance companies usually. And then I just stand around and do rock climbing for 8 hours.
Ugh.
Yeah, it sucks, but it's easy.
Would they make you climb rocks?
No,
Why would they want to fucking pay to watch your kid climb rock? They climb the rocks. He holds onto the rope. How hard is this to figure out?
It's just the way he put it. I thought I was confused.
No, it's not. They're not just coming in and being like, "Hey, could you go up the wall again?"
Did you put together the intro for us? Let's take a listen to it, to the Philly gig.
Here you go.
Does it sound good?
I like it.
All right.
Let me down. I gotta load it up.
No, he's got to load it up. You haven't gotten back into production, huh, Earl?
No, not yet.
You were always the production master. Earl would just be like, the whole time you're talking, you just hear like a butterfly wing go by. I mean, he would set up production like you wouldn't believe.
right, here we go.
All right, let's take a listen.
Live from the first annual Keystone Comic-Con, returning home to Philadelphia from the bonfire on Sirius XM, Big J. Okerson. And joining him from the Bennington Show, Ron Bennington.
Room's gonna explode when they hear that generic music. That's a real live gig sound. Vita, we should have had you do it.
I can still cut some VO for that. We can put that together.
Do you understand what the Philly sound is? Do you know how famous the Philly sound is?
Yes.
And then you're having this thing from a B movie.
I always think Philly sound. I think Gamble and Huff.
Well, that's because you're old. I'm Boys the Men. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm Meek Mill.
Thank you. That's the sound of the Philadelphia Eagles. Meek Mill is so fucking loved in Philly that it's unbelievable.
Did you see what he did for the opening game? He was in New York City and then took a helicopter down to Philly to catch the first game.
That's the way I traveled too.
You got to.
Me and Sam Morrell. Traveling around by helicopter.
Drinking wine?
Ooh. I mean, you think it would be built up, home of the Super Bowl champions, this like a big live sound.
It's not too late to change this.
Huh?
It's not too late to change this.
You mean get a new producer?
Oh, God. That's not what I meant. No.
How many times I talked to you about live gigs, though?
Yes, we've talked about this.
But why do you just go back to that same guy doing that same, hey, it's a life in comedy. Hey, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. Might be up to you, Vito, to come through big.
Chris, I'm an experienced announcer now. You should be coming to me.
I might not even go now.
No, you should still go.
Ooh. Earl, you wanted to talk about the golden age of television. You said that you had it locked down. Now, everybody will tell you this is the golden age of television right now.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with a couple of people that I know about, like, wow, this is a great time. And it was and I'm like, the 70s for me was the golden age of television.
Because you were a little kid?
Not only that,
I know why. It's
not a bad place to start, but the 70s, everything we kind of moved away from really silly stuff. I guess you started to get into more adult content. Mary Tyler Moore, great comedies. Mary Tyler Moore, Sanford and Son, Jeffersons, All in the Family.
I know, but
TV news made a big leap. You had 60 Minutes that really took off.
You really loved 1970s television. I'm shocked by this. Better Call Saul is on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not.
I mean, is there a drama in the 70s that holds up? One drama?
No, I don't even think the sitcoms hold up, really. If you go back and watch the sitcoms, they don't.
Well, they're very, they're kind of Mad Libs. Like, it's the same. Like, if you would have watched Earl's favorite show, Welcome Back, Kotter, you could just say, like, it was the same show, and they would just change the joke out. But everything was done exactly the same.
But you look at a show like All in the Family, which took on.
Do you ever go back and watch All in the Family again? You'll be surprised. You will be shocked. And because I remember it was like, when I forget what was TV Land or something, like last year, was bringing back Rockford Files, right? And I'm like, man, I can't fucking wait to see Rockford Files. Rockford Files was the best show. And I fucking, TiVo it all. And I start watching them. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is some slow moving shit. But I couldn't stop watching it just to see when cars look different from each other.
But yet Columbo.
Terrible fucking show. I'm telling you, me and Anthony have been in this thing because he rewatches TV like you, like you know, Fez, Anthony, and you go back and watch those shows, but almost the same way that a baby wants to hear the same book every night. And you're like, read that book. We're like, we read this fucking book, man. But you feel comforted from it, you know? But it's not. Now, I will agree with you, like, the Bob Newhart, Mary Tyler Moore stuff was
it the
pretty good TV.
Carol Burnett show?
Go back and watch it, dude. I had to fucking interview Carol Burnett. I went back and watched it all. I think it's that great in your memory. I'm sure Vito loves the 90s.
Yeah, I love 90s TV. I think late 90s, early 2000s is like, for me, golden age, because you in the early 2000s you still had some of those shows that premiered late 90s, and you're still getting some of those really good TV dramas that premiered, like Lost.
They were terrible.
I loved
Lost. Fucking ended up being the worst thing that ever happened in the United States of America. They fucking ripped us off. That was the most embarrassing ending. And that show only works if all the thinking we were doing about it paid off. We thought about Lost more than the writers thought about Lost. So fuck Lost.
It was the most fun I had watching a TV show to this day.
Even at the end?
Even at the end.
You got
like
fucking ripped off.
I like the end. They were all meant to be together.
Guess what?
In the end.
You're not doing the fucking opening now.
What?
I can't trust you. I can't trust Chris. Here's what I'm just going to do it live. I'll just walk out like this. Hey, everybody.
Don't do that.
Did you hear the thing that he put together?
Did. I'm pretty sure he took that music from the halls.
I did not take it from the halls.
Dude, you can't fucking hand in shit like that. You've been doing this too long, man. This is me, and this is fucking Jay. And Jay's like, oh, you guys, you know, put that together. It's a fucking track you don't have to pay any money for. That's why that thing exists. It's a live show.
It's going to be completely changed.
Vito, you're doing it.
We got this.
I also want you to do the Brewer thing on Monday.
Okay.
It's fucking Metallica blasting. It's like, or Selloutica, as I call them, you know. Though these minds going through these changes. Oh, if you want to get Brewer tickets, here's the way to do it.
Go to theinterrobang.com for a chance at free tickets. It's happening this coming Monday, September 17th, 5 p.m. at the Fat Black Pussycat.
70s TV.
70s TV. I loved it.
I didn't expect you to bring up the news.
What, 60
He fucking
minutes?
loves 60 Minutes.
I know, man, like, but usually when you're talking about
you
TV,
should hear him when he gets into Dateline. I mean, he won't stop.
Like, when I brought up the early 2000s, I wasn't like, remember To Catch a Predator.
The early 2000s, you don't even bring up The Sopranos.
I should have went to The Sopranos.
Yeah,
and The Wire.
you went to The Sopranos and The Wire, and you're like, okay, you're on to something. By the way, The Wire is not as good as people say.
No.
I watched it after the fact.
I love that show.
Season 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Chris loves to defend season 2. Season 2's garbage.
He
Season
loves to defend season 2 because they played generic music.
Season 1, it's really slow. The episodes are like 55
The only
minutes.
thing that fucking show stopped in its tracks every time a white person was on.
100%.
Anytime they were slinging fucking rock on the corners, that was great. Everything else blew about
It's the same mistake Snowfall's making right now.
I'm done with Snowfall.
I
was called a racist by a tweeter
for saying the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You only like the black person.
It's true. It's the only thing that works.
And you can tell they took the weakest storyline and threw it in with his storyline just to be like, we need this kid on screen more.
Yeah. I thought the lead guy for The Wire, that fucking, the drunk
McNulty.
Terrible actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on some other fucking shitty show now.
The Affair?
Yeah, The Affair. Just a fucking Long Island show about a guy who fucks somebody. Seriously. When I'm in Long Island, I don't even look out the window. I put the fucking shades to my Rolls Royce down, and I just fucking sit in the back and smoke crack. And now they're telling me I should watch that as a TV show. Every other scene is a Billy Joel song.
I've never seen the show, but my mom watches it. And sometimes I'll walk out and I'll just hear them talking about the same affair.
Yeah, they fucking love that affair. Your mom likes those kind of shows, though.
Loves
right?
those kind of shows.
She likes a show where there's an affair.
Yeah. She's
her.
really into Succession right now.
What's that one about?
That's the one you were watching on HBO. The one that ended like a few weeks ago with family.
The Rich Family.
The Rich Family.
Oh, yeah. And again, it's not a good fucking show.
No, she said the same. It took her like an episode or two to get into it, and then she was like, I'm just watching it.
I'm watching Lodge 49 now. That's what I fucking lined into.
I don't know.
Well, you guys don't watch that because you don't watch Better Call Saul, and it comes on after that. But it's Kate Hudson's brother, and it's very fucking weird. But I like the characters, so I'm gonna watch it. But I know it's gonna have a payoff like Lost.
I just watched Maisel.
Well, the amazing
Miss
Maisel.
Marvelous Miss Maisel, and like it's one of those shows again where I just like any show that's set in New York and they go to real places.
Yeah, but it's real places that don't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's what's fun. That was what was fun about it.
Here's what annoys me about that show. So she's a stand-up, and instead of like having material, she just goes up on stage every once in a while and rants about what happened to her today. The people are fucking falling out. You know what I mean? It's like if I fucking just went out to the cellar tonight and I'm like, I asked to have a beautiful fucking opening because I'm going to Philly, and I get this thing from my producer, even though I told him 100 times, don't give me the same generic music, and the people would just be going nuts. Instead, they'd be going like this. This is your own personal fucking shit, dude. Why are you dumping this on us?
And then there was an episode where she does rehearse material and it doesn't go well, and she doesn't get laughs and everything. It's the comedy part of the show's the weakest part. And then I like that they throw in little things like she's best friends with Lenny Bruce.
Yeah, the guy who plays Lenny Bruce is fucking fantastic.
Yeah. He's on the Deuce right now.
Which one to say on the Deuce?
He just showed up in the first episode. He's the guy that shows up as the representative for the mayor in that one scene. And then did you see, I think Bonnie McFarlane's in the Deuce.
What?
I saw a preview for like next week's episode.
Put it on, let's see. Why wouldn't she fucking tell us? These guys, they get these parts of TV shows and they're embarrassed about it.
It's the longer season 2 trailer, Chris.
All right, tell us when you see Bonnie. Is that her?
No, she's at like a desk.
Put the fucking sound on, Chris.
You here? Said I was going to answer for you.
I'm not doing any more Daddy Knows Best.
That's a
Is
fantasy.
that her?
That's not
that's
my fantasy.
David
How
Krumholtz.
about making something really special?
That'd be amazing. I'd be like, man, she's really a character.
Actress, director, and general movie star hotness.
You're an actor. You know what a gift that is to be able to sell it
Right
on
there.
screen?
See me on
That is
TV
not
last
Bonnie.
night?
That's not Bonnie
What a gift
McFarlane?
that is to be able
I've
to
been
sell
convinced
it.
that was Bonnie McFarlane.
It's nothing like Bonnie. You're a fucking racist.
I've been convinced that was Bonnie McFarlane.
Bonnie wears those kind of glasses.
He thinks if anyone gets the same sunglasses as Bonnie, it's her.
That's what makes me think
This
people
is
look
why
like-
you'll never be fucking called in as a witness for anything.
But that definitely is the guy that plays Lenny Bruce because I
Who gives a
I
fuck?
saw it on IMDb. So that I'm right on that, but you're probably right because it wasn't on her IMDb. So I don't know why I thought it was Bonnie McFarlane.
You guys are on fucking fire today.
I think it looks like her
Look,
though.
Paul Feig is coming in here in a little bit, so I want you to make yourself
Okay.
fucking scarce.
I'll get out.
I don't want you talking nutty around Paul Feig. What's the name of his movie?
A Simple Favor comes out today.
Simple Favor. It's got that Lively girl. What's her name?
Mila Kunis,
No, her
Blake
name is
Lively.
Lively.
Blake Lively.
Blake Lively.
Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick.
I didn't ask for the extras.
Oh, Lively! I thought you were, I thought you were using an adjective.
This fucking team has completely fallen apart. This is the fucking Cleveland Browns right now. The Cleveland Browns. Ba-ba-ba-ba-da. Ba-da-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. I don't know if I'm into the Deuce this year. I don't like. Hey, can you believe that we're all in the porn business now?
It's like a setup episode, like a long.
Yeah, I just don't like that leap ahead. They're making it again. They're trying to act like they want to fucking, tell a story like they were filmmakers. But the truth is, it was better when they were just fucking scraping around on the ground looking for you know what I mean? Those guys didn't go on to have success. These were fucking Times Square fucking cockroaches. And now it's like, oh, can you believe it? I own fucking Connecticut. And then we're supposed to watch their downfall because crime doesn't pay. They'll fucking turn you on with the whole thing, the world is mine. And then always in the final act, you'll see why. Oh, shit. Everything's terrible. Hey, coming up a little later on, very controversial Unmasked.
With Norm Macdonald. That comes up at 4 p.m. today.
Norm was coming off of one big problem and got into another problem while we were doing this with him. But it looks like he's keeping his Netflix show. Luckily, he's not on a regular network.
Norm Macdonald has a show.
This one, he took a lot of... there was beef happening while we were on because he had used the term Down syndrome when he was on with Howard that morning. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, go and look, just fucking Google stuff. Earl, you're in the business now. You know what I mean? This isn't like, hey, do we have a fucking four-top open? This is back in radio.
Back in the game.
Yeah, back in the fucking game. You want to be in the game, Earl. You know what I mean? You want to be on the sidelines going like this. Oh, man, these guys are losing the game. Luckily, I'm not in there. All right, so that's all coming up in a little bit. And then this will be the last time that we tell you you can get tickets to come to the Unmasked with Jim Brewer.
That's with Jim Brewer. It's happening this coming Monday, September 17th at 5 p.m. at the Fat Black Pussycat in New York City. You go to the ibang.com for a chance at free tickets.
All right. So coming up, Paul Feig. It's the first time he's doing something other than a big comedy. It's the name of it, Chris?
A Simple Favor comes out in theaters everywhere today.
We'll be right back with the great director, Paul Feig. This is Bennington. Great to see you, my friend.
Ron, I'm never happier than when I walk in and see you.
Well, you, of course, look like $1 million today.
Thank you.
As always.
You're sporting a nice jacket yourself.
But, and you're doing this with Blake Lively, who is,
yes,
let's face it, she's the female Paul Feig. If we're going to be totally honest,
well, you know what?
Style.
We turned her into that.
How was it working with this? Because you kind of pulled the comedy back on this. I haven't seen it yet, but you pulled the comedy back on this.
Yeah, but it's funny though. Once the movie's over, you go, oh yeah, that was one of his movies.
Yeah,
it's fun. I just wanted to bring back the whole like Hitchcockian sort of fun thriller thing because thrillers are like my favorite genre. I love to read thrillers. I love to watch them. But I feel like and I love the modern day thrillers, but I think they've lost a bit of the fun. I think they maybe take themselves too seriously sometimes. Right. The stories in thrillers are inherently kind of absurd.
Yeah, they are. And they're also, it's more the threat of violence than violence, right?
That's exactly.
So that's the suspense that's kind of missed by a lot of filmmakers.
Well, that's what Patricia Highsmith defines a thriller as, where the threat of death is constantly overhead.
Right.
And that's really what it is. Yeah, but within that, comedy and fear go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just really responded when I first read the script to the lead character that Anna Kendrick plays, because it's like out of any one of my other movies. It's a very awkward, well-meaning person who's underappreciated by the world, who is trying to figure out their place and goes through an experience and learns.
She's also hysterical and just naturally naturally funny.
She's a real natural, like physical comedian too, because since this was such a tight script, we didn't play around as much. Although they still improvised stuff and really brought a lot of great things to it, but it was a lot of sort of improvising as far as the physical performance. So like, okay, this take be really awkward. This take, the dress is too tight, and kind of try to act like it's not. And she would just pull these shades out.
Right.
It's so amazing. And nobody uses her arms and elbows more effectively than Anna Kendrick. It's just like, she's just kind of, it's so funny to the character. There's kind of arms flapping around.
When did you become like aware of her? Like that this was somebody on the scene?
I mean, honestly, going back to, I think we all did with Up in the Air, and you're just like, who is that?
Yeah.
And then just watching all her subsequent performances, and I loved her in 50/50.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really kind of having rewatched that, and then when trying to figure out this script and having just read the script, it was like, oh my God, Anna's perfect for this, because you need somebody lovable and sweet, but then also that we can kind of subvert that image of them, because we really subvert both Anna's image and Blake's image in this film.
And then you also need them to have a certain chemistry together, right?
Yeah, totally.
Now, how are you aware whether that's working?
Well, you have no idea when you first cast them. I mean, it's literally like, I hope this works. Just because, when you're working with movie stars, you kind of can't go, all right, let's come on in and let's mix and match you movie stars and see who's got chemistry. So you do it. But what I've found is the best stars really, they create chemistry because they know they're only as good as the other people they're working with. So they're not like solo performers. And so then it's up to me to then adjust the script and make sure, okay, now that's going to feed off of, their characters are going to mesh in a nice way. But they just had instant chemistry. It was really wonderful.
Now, the audience, like we were just talking about, they're not used to this kind of suspense or kind of even an old school like film noir type thing. So do you almost feel like you have to educate the audience a lot as you go through a film like this?
Well, honestly, I think that's where the humor comes in and helps, because you just kind of you really just have to throw people in the middle of something. But what I did, which I was very happy with, is because the movie it's funny. It's got these funny, but it's a thriller. First and foremost, a thriller. We treat it serious, but the comedy comes from the sort of the quirkiness of the characters. But what I realized is I need to signal to the audience right up front that it's okay to laugh. And whereas, normally you'd think you'd start a movie like this with like really kind of tense music and all that. I found this French pop song from the 60s. It's a remake of a Perry Como song, and it's the most fun, upbeat song you've ever heard. And so I put that at the beginning with a credit sequence. Is just very Saul Bassian with these kind of graphics, but it just says, you go like, oh, I thought this was gonna be a thriller, but this music is really fun. So it just, I think everybody goes like, okay, I know what I'm in for. I'm just in for like kind of a fun joyride.
Right. But you do kind of need that lounge type of music, right? It's like a French lounge.
Yeah, well, it's a 60s French pop. It's like Jacques Dutronc and Francis Gall. And I'm so happy with the soundtrack. But I was inspired because my wife and I were just listening to a lot of 60s French pop right when I was working on the film. And it was just like, that's the sound. Because I'm always looking whenever I do a movie, like, what's going to be the sound for that movie?
Right.
Like when I took on The Heat, I remember I had just read the script and got back to our apartment. I was like, oh my God, I want to make this, and was looking into it. And I turned on the radio, and Isley Brothers' Fight the Power came on.
Right.
And I was like, that's the sound for the movie. You know, so it just kind of happens organically that way.
And that was a whole 70s thing that you were running through that one.
Yeah, exactly.
But you need that, right? You need to have that. It's weird to have that music. And all the great directors, when they're watching Scorsese or Tarantino, you could always go immediately, oh, I can picture him figuring this out as he's going along.
Yeah, I mean, when you mesh story, visuals, and music, that's like where film just becomes euphoric,
right?
But it's hard to hit those perfect moments, but when they come together, and in our movie there's a few sequences that just everything with the music meshes perfectly, because either you use the music ironically, which both Tarantino and Scorsese are amazing at doing, or you play into it, and that's the fun of like not letting people know like what's going to come next.
Well, I brought this up by the way you work, and it's almost like you work with 50 different partners throughout the film. Every little part of it, there's somebody that's your creative partner. Now, do you bring people along film by film? Is that a key there?
Well, yeah, I try to kind of keep a consistent team, but then it's hard to keep people together sometimes because there's time that goes by in between projects. Like, because Bob Yeoman has shot all my movies, the last 4 movies that I did, but then because this one kind of got delayed a little bit, he went off and did Mamma Mia 2, but it allowed me to reunite with my old film school pal, John Schwartzman, who shot most of Michael Bay's early movies and shot a couple of the Spider-Mans, and he's just amazing, and that was fun because this was going to have a different visual style because of the thriller aspect, but also but then I had not worked with this costume designer before, and we just fell in love because she's so perfect for this and just embraced it so wonderfully. So now she'll be a part of my regular team. But again, but it works out. Like my next movie I'm doing, I've got them on it just because the scheduling happened to work out.
What are you doing next after this?
I'm going to London. I'm going to shoot a movie that Emma Thompson wrote and sent to me, and it's this amazing. I call it a romantic comedy. It's sort of like Love Actually meets It's a Wonderful Life. I would describe it. It's a big love letter to London. So,
but this point of your life, you get a letter from Emma Thompson. That's got to mean, it's got to mean something.
Oh,
to
these
you,
are
right?
the moments when you pinch yourself. Like where you're like at a premiere talking to somebody cool, and you're like, oh my god, like Michael Avenatti came to our premiere last night, and I was just like, this is the coolest thing ever.
But that is like you have comfortably falling into this role, I think now, right where you are.
I love it. I mean, look, the only thing you'd never get comfortable with is the idea that you could fail, and that's what drives you every single moment is like, please don't let this be the one that bombs and kind of, makes it so I can't make what I want to make.
And there's no one who doesn't feel that, right?
No.
Like I've heard Spielberg
everybody
talking about it.
It's all you can think about because it's not 2 + 2 = 4. Anytime you put on a movie, you're picking at anything, you're like, I don't know. Maybe people want to see this, maybe they don't. You can only go off of your gut and your sort of past experiences and kind of judging the zeitgeist around, but there's no way to know.
Yeah, because I think the zeitgeist changes faster now than at any other time in history.
And the problem with movies is it takes a year at least. So like what's in the zeitgeist when you pick it out suddenly could be completely dead by the time it comes out.
All right, so this comes out this weekend. A simple favor, and it's a different direction for you, but you say you bring the comedy along, and that was comforting for you.
I call it a thriller. It's a fun thriller. Copyright Paul Finn.
And then the next one is going to be a rom-com. Here's the thing I'm waiting for you, I think would be perfect for you as a musical.
That's what I'm dying for.
Is that right?
Yeah. I keep chasing it. I've found a couple that are close, but it's got to be the right one. It's got to be perfect. But yeah, God is my witness. I will make a musical.
Now, is that something you'd want to take from like Broadway or new music?
I'd love to do new.
Yeah. And that's always the difficult thing because people, the way they are with music, they don't always love songs that they're going to love later the first time they.
I mean, how many times do you hear it? Like people like, oh, no songs that I can even remember, or nothing I could hum, or whatever. It's always like everybody's big strike against a musical, and then it becomes like everybody's favorite musical down the line. No, I mean it's an interesting point just towards everything in this business and why it's so nerve-wracking when you put something out because I always say. People have to get used to the idea that something exists. And that's the biggest hurdle you have with critics, with audiences, with anything, because especially when you have a body of work, they're like, oh, I know what they do. So they come in with all these expectations of what they want it to be.
Right.
And then when it's not that, even if it's something that's really good, they're just dealing with the fact of like, wait, that's not what I thought this was going to be.
Yeah.
And that's so many times like people will go, hey, I watched your movie again, on cable. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
And you realize they just came in with some other expectation.
And sometimes it just takes a couple viewings to let certain films work. Because this was the Coen brothers have always been like that. I always like it on one level.
Yeah.
But as I'm watching it more and more, I'm like, man, this is even better.
Yeah.
Than I thought it was.
Yeah, because you layer things in. I mean, that's I always say I try to make my movies for repeat viewings just because I like things that I can watch 10, 20 times, and I want my movies to be comfort food. I want them to just be like the thing you turn to. I don't care about awards. It's like when somebody says like, "Oh, I've watched Bridesmaids 20 times," you go, that's the greatest thing you could ever tell me. Versus, hey, you won an award and I watched it once, but I never watched it again.
Well, when you were a kid, when did you first become aware that there was a director doing this? Because that's always an interesting thing. It was kind of twofold. When I saw Take the Money and Run when I was a kid, my cousin who took me, because I loved it, and she goes, the guy starring in it, he also wrote and directed it. So I was like, what? But to me, that was more like, I guess you can kind of be in charge of it. But I still didn't know what a director did. It was really when I went to the opening morning of Raiders of the Lost Ark. When I was out here, I was a tour guide at Universal Studios in Hollywood, and like 17, and I just remember for some reason it clicked because the audience went crazy. That opening sequence we'd seen a million times out with the boulder rolling down. Nobody had ever seen that before. People leapt out of their seat. I never heard people screaming more, like out of joy and delight. And that I suddenly went like, that's what a director does. Like you set that stuff up and you can affect an audience like that. And I kind of never got over that. Well, I remember, and it's so weird because of Spielberg at that time, but seeing Jaws in the theater, hearing those screams together. But then I still think to this day, Close Encounters is probably my favorite film by him, because I just had no ability to understand what the hell was going on around
I had the exact same experience that you do. But to me, it wasn't a movie.
Right.
I would just like, I walked out of that going like, I want to be taken away by aliens.
We looked into the skies, the night skies. We were all just like forever just looking up going, it's almost.
Yeah. And that's almost a masterfully made movie. I mean, and masterfully written. It's really a it's perfect. It's kind of a perfect film.
Yeah. And then he was, of course, for many years, one of those guys that they didn't give awards to. We were talking about awards. People somehow thought all that stuff came easy to him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. If you are good at your job, it looks effortless, and I always feel, the award stuff is great, but sometimes it feels a little like, it's trying to win awards.
Yes.
Sometimes. I mean, I had a moment of going like, oh, the popular film category, that's exciting because maybe we'll have a shot, but then quickly went, how do you define that? There's no way.
Right. That was a weirdly made up concept.
There's no way to define it. The Golden Globes have struggled with this for years. That's why Spy lost to The Martian. Martian's an amazing movie. I wouldn't necessarily call it a comedy, but that beat all of us, all of pandering comedy films in that year.
That is true though, because for some reason, well, it seems odd to say comedy doesn't get taken seriously, but it is true. Right?
Oh, it's very true. Yeah, but that's why I over the years have gone like, have to just go like, who cares about awards? Because if you start chasing awards, especially as a comedy person, you're just not going to please anybody. Like everybody's going to be let down.
And that, when they do, it's the suffering comedian, the funny guy who goes home and, he's suicidal or addicted or whatever.
Well, it's always like the hardest story to get an audience to care about is somebody who's striving to be in showbiz, because you're like, I got a real regular job. Fuck you. Go work my job.
This is Paul Feig's film, a simple favor that comes out Friday, September 14th in theaters everywhere. And this was a novel first.
Yeah, it was a book that was there was a big bidding war for in town, but we weren't part of that. My company wasn't part of that. Fox 2000 got it, and then they hired Jessica Sharzer, this great writer who works on American Horror Story and all these other great shows, and she did the adaptation. And then we have a deal over at Fox, and they sent it to us. Because they said, do you want to produce this? Because we don't know what it is. They said, it's nuts. It's like all over, just because it's such a crazy story and it's funny, but it's serious and all this. So I read it and was like, holy shit, I want to direct this. Like, this is the thriller I've been looking for that I couldn't write from scratch. And so we kind of surprised everybody that I wanted to direct it.
How many scripts do you go through before you see something that makes you feel like
Well, our company goes through bazillions. There's so many out there. And they all know I have a great team that works for me, and they really know my tastes well. And so they read so many, and then they'll pass the ones along to me where they're like, I think he you might like this, or occasionally, Jessie Henderson, my producing partner, she'll come in and go like, you got to read this. And this was one of those scripts. She goes, you got to read this. You're really going to like this.
I think that you have to. I mean, there's such a talent for that because a lot of times I'll read a script and go, I don't have any idea how to make a picture for this.
Yeah.
In my mind, there's a lot of really great movies that if you look at the script, you're like, well, I'm surprised.
Oh yeah, I've read a few. I mean, I don't want to name any names of the films, but there was one in particular that I read the script and I was like, I don't get it at all. And then when I saw the movie, I was like, holy shit, this is the greatest movie of all time.
Right.
But then you go like, somebody had a vision for it. And that's, as a director, all you can do. Because I've read scripts, I go, this is really good. I've passed on a few scripts. I go like, I desperately want to make myself do this, but I just don't have the vision for this. Somebody else can make this great.
Well, I mean, you could read Pet Detective and never picture Jim Carrey.
Totally.
You know what I mean? You would have no idea. Somebody could have taken that and turned it into, a comedic masterpiece.
Well, because it's all execution based. I mean, that's all any of this stuff is. And studios always hate to hear that, because it just, they want the script to be so ironclad that, a monkey could make it and it'll be fantastic. But it's just how you do it. Because how many times have you seen a great script turn into a terrible movie?
Sure.
And that's because, they don't cast it right, or they just shoot it wrong, or they just direct it poorly, or the music's bad. It's such a razor's edge you walk. You can make your movie terrible at any moment of the process.
It's true. As a matter of fact, just today, the Call Me By Your Name was on, and I'm watching it, and it's so beautiful. It's shot, but I'm like, this is that close to being a Hallmark movie. If you miss just slightly in tone, it's...
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we always say, like, the director's biggest job is guarding tone. That's all you can do. And I like to really walk the razor's edge on this. You just, like Spy was kind of in that world where you're like, hey, we're making a spy movie, so you got to be serious about that, but it's got to be funny. And I think when I took this one on, it was almost like, let's see how close to the edge we can get, because I wanted to keep the comedy, but, it's how you put it together. I don't know. It's throughout the whole process, you take chances and you get the pieces. Sometimes I'll go, let's just get a piece that probably would throw the whole tone off, but let's just have it. Because sometimes you get in the editing and you go, we can actually get away with this. We can actually push just this far and this will work.
You loved the Hitchcock when you were a kid growing up?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Those movies. But they were fun. Again, and I was always surprised at how funny they were, and like the side characters. You'd always be kind of chuckling at certain characters and their quirks. And then, obviously Cary Grant, when he's in those, he's so great. I mean, North by Northwest is, and obviously that's, everybody references that, but it's such a great movie.
Yeah, and you can really go through so many of those films. So, like, any one of them would have been another person's peak.
Yeah.
At all time.
Totally.
But at the time, he was another guy that the critics at the time didn't appreciate.
No, when you make movies where your goal is just to kind of entertain people, it tends to be looked down upon in a weird way. But I kind of like, who cares? If the audience is, the only thing you don't want is them to keep the audience away from something they would like. That's the only time I get tense about when critics start to get too critical.
Right.
Because movies are so expensive now that you do look and go like, well, everybody says that's bad, I'm not going to go see it. I think they're already going to wait to see it on cable. My favorite, there's a lot of people like because that kind of happens with Ghostbusters a little bit. There was just so much controversy that I think people stayed away from it. But so many people. And I never wanted. It would be too mean to write it, but on Twitter they always like, "Hey, I finally saw Ghostbusters. So great. Why is there not a sequel?" It's like, because you just watched the fucking movie. That's why there's no sequel.
Yeah.
But I appreciate when they watch it. So thank you. Keep watching. But don't ask me why there's not a sequel.
But that's something that no one ever had to deal with before this generation was social media.
Yeah.
More or less deciding what they want the movies to be in real time, and the executives are reading this stuff and
totally
giving it more weight than it should possibly be.
Well, the good democratization and meritocracy that came out of social media is, remember when we were growing up, they could sell you the worst movie in the world just through trailers and all the press, and it would take a couple weeks for people to realize, oh, that movie's terrible. With social media, you can't. I mean, word is out immediately, and it goes everywhere. So in that way, I actually think it's good. It just puts a lot more pressure on us.
Sometimes it would just be a poster, just a really good movie poster. I was bringing this up. I don't know whether you've seen the King Kong poster that's coming to Broadway. That poster is so fantastic.
It's awesome.
And I'm like, this is almost a lost art form of grabbing people off the street.
Oh, yeah. I remember that, I think it was a Charles Bronson movie called White Buffalo.
Sure.
That had the greatest poster ever. And you went and saw the movie. It's like, that's nothing. That is not in the movie.
Yeah. Thank you so much, my friend. Always
Ron,
great to see you.
You are the greatest.
And congratulations, Stu, for with this and the Nest Project. It opens everywhere this weekend, Friday 14th. A simple favor, always the best, and we'll see you next time coming through.
Thank you, Ron. You're always so great.
Thanks.
Thanks, buddy.
It's the Bennington Show coming up in a little bit. It's Norm Unmasked, and I honestly think when he comes in, we all should just yell Norm like it was Cheers. And then Earl, you can go Norman, because you're like the blonde waitress here. I forget what her name is. Oh, I know what it is. Shelley something. Shelley Long.
Yeah.
The great Shelley Long. Earl, I want you to stay on hot funk licks for us, too. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't want us to beat this to death. You're a hot funk lick guy. Have them ready to go. Vito, you brought up something, and I told you to save it for when we were back on the air. He had a question that I think would be a child's question. Go ahead, Vito.
All right, when do you guys shower? Because I just found out this weekend that people shower at like different times. Like I shower.
Well, let's just stop it there. What would confuse you that people shower at different times? Did you think that you're on the main shower thing?
I thought that just showering immediately before you leave was the norm, and that's just what everybody in the world did.
Norm! Today I took a shower immediately before I left, but no, that is, I'm not locked into this. Now, I also believe in the summer, and this is going to cause a lot of controversy with these water people. I think a shower at night and a shower in the morning is the way to go. In the winter, shower in January and again in late March. Earl, you have to shave your head when you shower. So that's extra work for you.
No, what I do is
I always thought that having a bald head would make your life easier. How much time do you spend shaving your head?
An hour. 20 in, 20 out.
I couldn't do that every day.
Now, hold on. What do you mean in and out?
I shave it.
Dry?
I shave it before I take a shower. And then you do your touch-ups when you get out of the shower.
And it's 20 minutes each. And then you take a 20-minute shower to think about, why can't I have hair?
It's 20. Actually, it's 20 and 10 on the touch-ups.
You do that every day?
Every other day.
No.
I like when the Yankees are in the playoffs and he refuses to not shower. He refuses to shave his head.
No, I won't shave. I grow the beard.
But I remember back at NEW, you let the hair come out a little bit. It was very funny.
Yeah, because I just had patches, everything. My hair is horrible.
You looked exactly like Kid and Play. Now, Chris, since it doesn't matter to you if you wear a shirt for days in a row.
No.
What's your shower?
All right. My entire life, I was a shower at night person.
Never showered in the morning because you were in a hurry.
Never showered in the morning. Didn't want to be bothered with having to wake up just 5 minutes earlier to take a shower.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people like that, Vito.
I can't shower. Showering before I go to sleep makes me think I'm going to just wait. It wakes me up, and I can't shower at night unless I was out all day. And
you need a hot shower. Sounds like you're cold showering.
Just any kind of water fucking wakes me up.
Glass of water?
Yeah, glass of water at night. I'll just be up till 4 a.m.
As I've gotten older, I've started to take now showers in the morning, though. It's very, and I don't.
Well,
know
you
why.
also don't have a be here at 7 a.m. job. My whole start to radio, my hair was soaked every fucking day at the beginning of the show because we had to be in at 6 a.m. And I literally was in at 6:05. It was impossible.
That's what made me realize that you had different options to shower because my hair's longer now, so it takes longer to dry.
Oh boy, you love your fucking hair. You do.
So I'll get to work and my hair will be soaking wet. So now I started showering like an hour before I leave, and it's changed my life. I love it.
You know what's soaking wet now? Your vagina. Because you worry about your hair like a lady does. And that's not saying, that it's better to be a man. I'm very, very woke about this. I'm saying we're different, but 100% equal, Earl.
Had to make that clear.
Earl, do you like to kneel on the flag before the game or after the game?
I had to kneel, it'll be before the game.
Do you refuse to kneel before the Lord? Your church doesn't kneel, do they?
No, we don't kneel in church.
We kneel.
Not if we don't.
We kneel because of our love for the Lord. We genuflect as we come in, and then there's kneeling, standing, sitting. It's high aerobics if you want to be a Catholic.
Yeah, I went to two. I've only been to two Catholic services before, and the first time I went, a friend of mine, I was like, "What happens?" She goes, "Oh, you'll stand up, you'll sit down, you'll stand up, you'll love it." I'm like,
it is. It's fun.
I didn't know you didn't kneel at every church.
We're the only church that kneels.
I had no idea. I thought everybody just knelt. I thought every church had the little...
No, but we don't go spastic and fall on the floor and start talking in tongues. Earl, does your church talk in tongues?
On occasion, yes. It's the Pentecostals. That's the one where they go full out.
But no, I was at one down in Florida where people started speaking what is supposed to be as the angel language, right? It's like an angel is talking through you, and then I just start going, I got a home, biscuit. That's what it all sounds like to me.
You quoted the Chips in church.
Yeah, why not? Well, actually, I was doing the Blues Brothers. If I'm going to be 100% honest, Mr. Daniel Aykroyd. Chris, you said you had something that you wanted to tell, but only on the air. Is it that your back has gone out again?
No, not again. Thank Christ. Ran into Jenny Hutt the other day here at Sirius XM, and it brought something back from my memory that I had totally forgotten about. Around 7 years ago,
you had a baby with her.
No, but my girlfriend at the time thought I was having an affair with Jenny Hutt.
Wow.
I am fucking stunned.
So this is what happened.
Did you?
No, I did not sleep with Jenny Hutt. I did not have an affair with her.
Because is that when she lost all of her weight?
Yes.
Yeah. That broke up her show, you know. She lost weight and it broke up the show. Because the co-host was like, "Oh, you think you're so hot now."
So
we had a deal. Hot one and fat one. So what happened? You got dropped off by Jenny, sat in front of the house for an hour and a half?
No. This is what happened. I had fallen asleep, and my ex-girlfriend decided to go through my cell phone to see. I guess she thought I was cheating on her for some fucking reason.
Dude, you couldn't even get another chick.
Thank you. That's what I would eventually yell at her. Who else would want this?
By the way, when you know your relationship is over, when someone goes through your cell phone.
Yes, it was, and this was 7 years ago, and it was a giant fight. So she finds an email from Jenny Hutt. I found the email to just jog my memory. The email says, all right, so apparently she had come into the show like a couple days beforehand and like given me scratch off tickets. And we just scratched off tickets on the show on the air. And then she emails me again. This is what Jenny Hutt's email says. "I'll get you some Win for Lifes at same place. Is the $2 ones? Isn't so close to my house, so not sure when I'll get there, but I will."
That is dirty. How could anyone look at that?
It's turning. Apparently, she like keyed into the term "same place." My ex-girlfriend,
at same place where you buy the tickets.
Yes, and that's what I'm fucking screaming at this crazy girl.
But why are you staying when someone would go through your fucking phone?
I don't know, Ron. The relationship should have ended way before it did.
Absolutely, 100%.
And I don't like.
And look, she's the cheater, right? She's the one she got with you cheating on her ex-boyfriend, right?
Yes, exactly.
So that's why she's paranoid. Paranoid people are the cheaters.
Yeah. I never cheated on her. but for some reason she thought I was banging Jenny Hutt.
Based on the fact that she got you some scratch offs.
Exactly.
And then how long did that go on before she figured out, oh, okay, I'm being crazy?
A couple of weeks. I stopped talking to her.
You weren't freaked out that she went through your phone?
I was enraged because I had fallen asleep and she woke me up to this.
Oh my God.
Dude, I'm fucking passed out on her couch. I get woken up. Who the fuck is Jenny Hutt? What? What are you talking about? Just
apparently you don't know much about reader glasses because she happens to have a giant, what's the name of her company?
Bunny Eyes.
Bunny Eyes. That's the nuttiest fucking, let me tell you something. Not only my chick, but everyone in my family and all you guys. You could leave a book with me called My Secret Diary, and I would not open it up. Even if it said My Secret Diary where I put bad shit I say about Ron, I still would not open that up.
I know.
Now, if you left money, I'm going to fucking snatch it. Because you're fucking too slow. But I never, that thing of, somebody checks somebody's fucking Google searches.
Fuck that.
Get the fuck out. What are you, nuts?
I would never think to do that. I never went through. I could have gone through her phone.
Why would you?
Exactly. Why the fuck? Because then shit happens like this. Someone buy me scratch-off tickets. I'm getting screamed at while I'm just trying to take a nap.
Why did Jenny only get you scratch-off tickets? I'd like to become a fucking big winner.
I mean, it was a win for lives.
Maybe she thought it was code words.
I think that's what she was.
Whatever she fucking thought, she was nuts. You can say whatever you want about Chris Stanley. This fucking guy is loyal to a fault.
This is true.
If I was fucking, in Trump's position and they fucking picked up Chris Stanley, I'd say to everybody on my team, don't worry about it. I know this fucking guy.
Not a fucking word, Ron.
You ain't going to hear shit. All he's going to say to him is, Bing, I thought I told you to go fuck your mother. Ping, pow, boom. You should have seen it.
So it just came back to me because I think I might have blocked it out that this had happened because it's 70. I looked at the email. It's 2011.
But yeah, it's not something you're supposed to carry around your whole life. You were fucking stupid for not coming in the next day and saying, "Look what happened to me."
When I was bartending, I used to get home at 7 a.m. because I'd go out after work sometimes or just we'd run late. And the girl I was dating at the time got suspicious because I wouldn't answer my phone and stuff. And I woke up one day to her fucking trying to put my thumb on the iPhone to open it up and unlock my phone.
Shit.
Look, yours is a different story because since that article came out, everybody wants to fuck the bartender. It's had this city buzzed. Mm-hmm. But people are crazy about the bartender.
Yeah, it was the easiest I ever had, just getting with girls. And it's not even just being a bartender, it's just working at a bar. Even when I did the mechanical bull, it's just
they're drunk.
Yeah.
They're meeting you. You're a fucking stranger and you're giving them drinks. Yes, you can see why. Now, I don't know whether you know this, Earl, because you're not a drinker. But in New York City, bartenders will have followings and they fucking keep a thing and they tell people, hey, Thursday night, I'm going to be at this fucking bar. And a bunch of people come out for that. The Stand, I don't know whether you guys ever met Rachel from The Stand.
I met Rachel once.
Blonde, really pretty blonde girl.
Yeah.
Fucking, she's a very serious bar. She's a great, some nights she'll manage the club and I would be talking to her. She would run a tight show and we were really good friends. But when she bartended, she didn't even look up at me. She had her fucking game that she was playing. You know what I mean? She and I did not communicate because she ran a fucking hot bar. And I would just watch guys just fucking sit there and stare at her. You know what I mean? And that was the night that she would half shirt it. Oh, nice. On the other nights where she was managing, but the night she was bartending, half shirt that shit. People love bartenders. They love female bartenders and they love male bartenders. This is what you're missing out on, Earl, by not ever having a drink.
Well, one of our he recently left. He went for the Hard Rock in California. Our guy Troy, he was a bartender.
Mm-hmm.
Women were all over him at the bar. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
At the Hard Rock?
Yeah, just all over him.
And they were tourist women. You know what I mean? They fucking loved being away. I met a New York bartender who banged me in the fucking...
There was a bartender I definitely kind of got a little obsessed with. Like when I was like,
that's what happens. They get obsessed and they go to him like it was a titty dancer.
Exactly. And they're so nice to you. And we're talking, we're having conversation.
Right.
Oh,
because you forget that she's paid to fucking keep you sitting at that bar.
Yes.
That's her job.
You think you're like best friends or you're like have a chance, and then like we go to the back and we're just like, yeah, he's a lot, but I mean, he tips really well.
Yeah, so. Right. You fucking talk about him like they were marks on the Midway.
And we get competitive about regulars. Like if one of your regulars started going to a different bartender, you would get pissed at that person and be like, "What are you doing?" This
is what happens if you frequent a titty bar too. It's like you come in there and let's suppose Charlene dances for you, right? She doesn't want to fucking look over and see Mercedes giving you a fucking lap dance, right? So you're like, I'm not in a fucking relationship. I'm fucking freewheeling here.
The point of this place.
So it's like strippers, bartenders, barbers.
Yeah, barbers, you don't want to be fucking caught with a different guy.
You have to, if it's like a 30-minute wait, you just have to sit there while this other guy's an empty chair and just stare. Like,
no, it's fucking true.
I'm here for him.
I go to a guy whose like name is on the sign. He's fucking excellent. I'll never go back to anybody else, and I overtip him. I don't know why. I feel like, dude, your name's on the sign. You fucking deserve the best.
I actually had to get a new barber because there was a barber I went to for years, and it's a guy and his brother. The one guy gave me a great haircut, but the brother would always give me a shitty haircut. I always felt too uncomfortable to say no because
yes, it's very uncomfortable.
It's fucking so like no thanks. I want the good one. And so eventually I just stopped going because I can't go to this fucking barber anymore. I can't risk getting more fucking bad haircuts. Now I go to a Dominican man named Kelvin, and I make an appointment with him.
To get a Dominican haircut then.
Okay, fucking Dominican haircut.
My barber is
I go to an Italian. I'm very comfortable with that.
I do Israelis.
Israelis?
Israelis who act like they're Hispanic. They're great. The guy has a picture of him with Chris Mullen. And every time I see him with a new customer, he's like, see that? It's the time I cut Chris Mullen's hair.
Where are you going? Brooklyn to get this done?
No, it's in my neighborhood. I don't know why Chris Mullen is getting haircuts in the Upper West Side.
I don't even believe Chris went to that fucking place.
There's a picture of him on the wall.
He might have went there once to say, you mind if I use your pisser? I don't think he's going all the way across town for a fucking haircut. Earl, you miss out on this, and because you fucking shave your own head.
Yeah.
And we know in your community that's a big deal to go to the barber shop. Oh, you guys sleep overnight there.
Did you watch that LeBron show?
No.
There's this thing in it where they say, he talks about how white people have pantries, and it's the first time he ever like saw a pantry was because of white people. And I didn't even know what a pantry was until I watched that show.
Well, you didn't grow up in the suburbs where you have extra space.
Yeah.
And fucking food is like right there. In the suburbs, some people have to go pretty far to get fucking food, so they put together a nice pantry.
I didn't know it was just for breads and stuff like that. Like that's what I didn't know. People just had a bread closet, basically.
Well, it's not just for bread. It's anything that you're not going to refrigerate.
Oh, I heard the way I heard them explain it sounded like it was just for carbohydrates. Like,
well, all snacks are carbohydrates, but if you have fucking cans or whatever, you put it in there. Anything that you don't refrigerate. It's like a fucking stock room.
Okay.
The pantry was always shocking to me as well. Also, it was shocking to me people going to the supermarket and buying more than $30 worth of groceries. Because my mom, or when I was growing up, they would just buy.
Because you live right fucking next to where you buy fucking food.
Yeah.
But if you've got to go 20 miles or fucking 10 miles, you stock up. A lot of women will buy for a couple weeks at a time. I've known people who go a month at a time that live out in the country.
The first time I went to like a suburban supermarket, fucking blew my mind just how gigantic they are.
Yes, you could actually push a cart in there.
Not the little,
that tiny little shitty thing.
The basket with wheels on it.
But it makes sense if you live in the city to just get things fresh all the time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense if you're driving fucking a half an hour. All you guys should have been stock boys. That would have been your fucking life.
Cut it.
I always wanted that bag boy job as a kid, but it was gone by the time I was like old enough to be a bag boy.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to like work at like 11. No bag boy jobs.
You wanted to, we live in a world now where people insist on bagging their own.
Yeah. Which I think is bullshit. I like someone to bag my shit up. On the rare occasion I do make my way to a supermarket.
I'm trying to think, who's the guy's name? Really funny comic that was on the Larry Sanders fucking get together. He's crazy as fuck. Skinny fucking dude.
Early seasons or later seasons?
Later seasons. He's the one that moved in with Larry. Wait, did I say the wrong last name?
They said Larry Sanders.
Larry Sanders.
I don't mean Larry Sanders. I mean the other fucking Larry.
Larry David?
Yeah.
JB Smoove?
Yeah. JB Smoove, he had that fucking show going where it was like a bunch of people sat down, they had dinner, and then they talked, and it was always funny. And he said, I think this was in the Bronx, that he was the beer boy at the fucking local place. And his thing was to keep the beer cold on the weekends, and it was just fucking quarts of beer. And he was describing like how fucking mad people would get if the beer wasn't cold.
Yeah, it's understandable. Don't like warm beer.
But most people just don't go get a quart of beer because they happen to be sitting across the street on the stoop. You know, most people will be able to go and put their beer in the refrigerator and have it. And most people don't buy quarts. The fact that so many quarts were running through this place on a Friday night that it got warm. And JB was making me laugh because you could see that he still took it seriously when he was thinking about it. You had to keep that shit fucking cold for people. They got off work. They want a nice cold quart of beer.
How do you keep beer cold?
There's a refrigeration.
No, but I mean, like, how is it a job? Like he just had to keep restocking it.
Yeah, of course.
How much was going out?
Oh, man. I don't even have to fucking tell you or all with your family.
You ain't kidding.
Everybody was just fucking sitting out front drinking their quarts. All right, coming up, it's Unmasked with Norm Macdonald. This is going to be a real funny one. And also we have Jim Brewer, if you want to go see him. And go to the iBang to pick up tickets for that. And tomorrow night, I'm going to be at Philly with Big J. Okerson and Bam Margera. We're going to be at the Convention Center?
Yes, the Pennsylvania Convention Center.
And it's Keystone Comic Con?
Keystone Comic Con.
I'm going to get my picture taken with the Batmobile.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. These fucking Comic Cons are constant now.
Yeah, it's just now the culture.
Yeah, there's like different brands of Comic Con.
Who's the big draw at a Comic Con? Like, who do people go see?
It's usually like panels for like one of the comic book movies.
No, but there's people, because I went to the one in New York, and this was a long fucking time ago, and people were lined up to get a picture signed by somebody. They weren't even taking a picture with it. That person would sign their 8x10. And I don't know what it was, like $20 or something. They would fucking hand it over. And then my kids at the time were amazed that I was friends with Space Ghost.
I'm amazed still to this day.
You love Space Ghost.
I really had a weird obsession with Space Ghost growing up.
Now, do you know George Lowe? Do you know what he looks like? Have you seen him outside of his Space Ghost thing?
I've never seen him outside of Space Ghost.
He was doing some stand-up, and he was working in radio. He had your position in radio, not with me, at a rival station, but we knew each other from this little comedy club. And he had done the Space Ghost voice for so many years before Space Ghost.
Really?
He would just do that as like an odd voice. And then one day he just gets that gig that they said, oh, that fucking voice would be perfect for Space Ghost, which weirdly, if you go back to the early 1960s or 1970s Space Ghost, it's nothing like that.
No.
Space Ghost wasn't like a crazy person.
He was just, I don't know, a superhero.
Yeah, he was just a regular old superhero. But he didn't have these bizarre thoughts. So that thing, I played up nice for him. It was a nice gig to have.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I had my producer on my show had went to broadcasting school with him, and they were very good buddies in their local Florida broadcasting school. So then my producer came in, Fast Eddie, and he has a fucking USA Today with him. And he goes, "You see this shit?" And I go, "What?" He goes, "George Lowe got cartoon voice for Space Ghost." I go, "Fuck, are you fucking kidding me? This is great." He goes, "Why don't I ever fucking get," you know what I mean? I go, "Were you up for it?" "No." And I go, "Then why are you mad?" Like, if it was just like fucking John Smith and you didn't know him, you wouldn't be mad. But because you know that guy and literally like him, you were sitting here pissed off that your friend got a fucking cool voiceover gig.
Did Fast Eddie ever do voiceover for cartoons?
Nope. Not at all.
Just going to broadcasting school together is what's set him off.
Now, he did have, and it was a little before I knew him, he had a hit character called Eddie Van Hamster, a hamster that liked rock and roll. And it was popular enough that it got T-shirts.
And Adult Swim didn't want to pick that up?
This was long before Adult Swim. There was no future in the Eddie Van Hamster.
The hamster talking.
No, it was just fucking like, "Hey, dude, let's rock and roll." You know what I mean? I don't know what the fuck he did.
It was just based around the pun. It was just 100% pun.
Yeah, but there was no, it didn't exist. It wasn't a cartoon. He was just doing it on the radio. So I guess he had every right to be mad. I don't know.
Yeah, the big draws at Comic-Con now, it's so spread out that it's not one big name anymore. There's wrestlers there. There's old sitcom actors there.
Yeah, I was trying to think of who was the fucking big draw at this little New York one I took my kids to. And this was well, I knew who I was fucking. I look up, there was a, the girl from Saturday Night Live, not Saturday Night Fever, the girlfriend, the event, she was sitting there signing stuff. And she would look at you when you walked by, "Hey, you're going to get, it's fucking $20 is a lot. I'm sorry." You know what I mean? Yeah. It was $1, I'd give you $1. But, so it was fucking Kung Fu. I see this thing for David Carradine. I said to my kids, I go, "Fuck, David Carradine was going to be here." And this is before fucking Kill Bill, right? And they're like, "Who?" I'm like, "Kung Fu. The fucking slow motion Kung Fu master." They're like, "Who?" So I see fucking David Carradine comes in. He's got to be fucking 60 at the time. He's got this fucking gorgeous young girl with him. 35 years younger, tops. I'm just saying that because we didn't have a Me Too movement going on. He walks into his booth. He just starts making out with her. And then he's like this, "Let's get out of here." And he leaves. He didn't sign one fucking thing. And I'm just like, "Kids, do you believe that?" I mean, he was 5 feet from us. David fucking Carradine, Kung Fu. Wow. Did you see that girl that he was mauling? His life, still good.
He had important business to take care of.
Yeah, I don't know. God bless him, Little did I know, years later, he would be hanging with his own belt like most people of his generation.
Some say he was killed by an Asian gang. That's a conspiracy about David Carradine.
I'm going to choose to believe that they got him to go into his own closet and put a belt around his neck. That fucking Kill Bill just was he was so good in that. So unbelievable. You're just why didn't he work all those years? Just like everybody last week was Burt Reynolds was the best. Really? Because after 1980, you wouldn't give him a fucking crumb. He basically he became Burt straight to video Reynolds. All right, let's take a break here. We'll be back with Unmasked with Norm Macdonald, and then also Jim Brewer Unmasked.
That's happening this Monday, September 17th, 5 p.m. at the Fat Black Pussycat in New York City. ibang.com for free tickets.
All right, right back. Unmasked with Norm Macdonald.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thanks. That's real nice. Does this work? Does this sound?
We.
It doesn't sound like much.
I know it doesn't sound like much because we're like.
Where are my cans?
No.
I don't get cans.
No cans for you.
God
here.
damn.
This. No, you don't work with cans on your
they
show.
don't know what cans mean.
No, of course.
Can you explain to the folks.
You would call them headphones, but in the 1950s radio, we called them cans. Norm Macdonald has a show that premieres on Netflix Friday, September 14th. And I know you're out doing some publicity. Were you able to get any? Was anybody paying attention to what's going on here?
Run.
Well, isn't it always funny when whoever it is ends up in the barrel for a little while? I mean, when it's not you, it's always really, really interesting that suddenly the press is paying attention to you, you know?
You mean that's a good thing?
Yes. Well, I wonder, do you view it as a good thing? Or
No. I've never believed that all press is good press thing because of Hitler. I feel it hurt his career.
You know what the thing is, like with everybody, it worked for a while. You know what I mean? For a while, like people are like, hey, I'm hearing a lot about you, Hitler.
Yeah.
And then it turns bad. You know?
Yeah.
But it always does turn bad at some point, no matter who the person is. Everybody has to be that guy for a while.
I suppose. Well, you're saying I'm that guy?
You're that guy for at least a couple days and it'll go away.
Yeah.
But you have to today with social media be in lockstep with the mob. That's the thing. You know?
You're saying that's a good thing.
No, it's the only way to survive. We're we're antelopes in the jungle. And you just want to move, find out where the lion is. That's, and then move in the other direction.
Well, what do you feel, Ron? The conventional wisdom always used to be, if you do something wrong, then you apologize, you show contrition, and the public forgives you. Now that's out the window.
Right.
And now Trump said it to his friend apparently the other day. Deny, deny, deny. So the people who've done bad things just deny it. And that's their own, and I don't think that's a good idea.
Right.
You know what I mean? By the way, I never did anything bad.
That's the perfect angle to have. And I'm as outraged as everyone else, and let's keep moving along.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's
Of
really
course
funny
I'm outraged.
funny about this? I've seen a couple episodes. They sent me a couple episodes of your show. It's the exact opposite of controversial. It's a really funny, sweet show. You're on there. I watched the Jane Fonda one. Probably the most controversial person of our lifetime.
Sure.
And yet it was just a fun, sweet half hour.
Yeah. I'm not, I'm not interested in, that's the funny thing is that I have no interest in politics or, I'm just a clown, you know what I'm saying? And what I think happened was, Jon Stewart, who was a great friend of mine and still is, wonderful comedian, fantastic comedian, and became a political figure of not inconsiderable weight in this country, for the good, I think, But he was a very peculiar, had massive intellect, strong viewpoint, well-informed, and funny. Hard to find those, And he had a fantastic show. But what he spawned, sometimes original geniuses spawn a bunch of fucking shit.
Right.
And so suddenly every talk show had to be, every talk show host had to be a political pundit, you know? And the last time I did the Jimmy Fallon show, Donald Trump was the host. And I was a guest, rather. And Jimmy mussed up his hair, Jimmy Fallon.
Right.
And I remember we were watching from backstage, and we're like, oh, didn't think of anything of it. And then it was a big thing. How dare Jimmy Fallon muss up, as if Jimmy Fallon is Tim Russert. Or, it's not a timely reference since he died 15 years ago. But he's no Douglas Edwards. So I said, well, that's Jimmy. It's absurd,
Yeah.
And I didn't watch Johnny Carson. I was too young. But I don't think Johnny Carson addressed Vietnam or Watergate, you know. Things way bigger than nowadays. But that's the way comedy is turned. So, and it's fine, But I'm no good at it because I don't know anything about politics. And so, yeah, it is a little ironic. I don't like using the word ironic because it turns out I always use it wrong.
Sure, yeah.
But Ted Sarandis, who's the head of the Netflix, and became a friend of mine in the unlikeliest of ways. But I talked to him all the time about the show. And I said, Ted, I want to give you a show that people can watch 10 years from now. I really, and I do that with my specials also. I don't do very many specials, but I want them to be about themes that will live on. And I don't want to make fucking Murphy Brown. And, because those Dan Quayle jokes. Not so funny.
Although she's back now.
She's back now, yes. And I think it'll work because now sitcoms have turned into this. When I was a kid, a sitcom would have once in a while a very special episode of Family Ties. And everybody would make jokes about it. And now a sitcom, every motherfucking episode is special.
Yeah. Anybody could die at any time if you're on TV. Nobody's spending their money if they're on a TV show.
That's like Lenny Clark, I remember.
Yeah.
He got the show Lenny.
Yeah.
Funniest motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know Lenny. And we were at the Montreal Comedy Festival. I met him. And everybody had their 5 minutes of going up on stage, trying to get the perfect 5 minutes. And meanwhile, none of the agents or managers were there. They were all at strip clubs. And so then at night, everybody stayed at the Delta Hotel, and Lenny Clark would just be running around the room, grabbing the telephone, going, hey, it's the president of show business. He wants to talk to you over here. And then he got the show.
Yeah.
But his agent told him about a giant house, because so he bought a big fucking giant house, and he told me he got he paid two what do you call it, mortgage?
Yeah.
That's how well I'm doing. He paid 2 months of his mortgage, and then he had to sell his house.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy, Lenny Clark. Goddamn. I just seen him. You seen him?
No, I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, he's one of the best of them.
He was like, one of the best, just naturally funny guys, right? But I saw him, he was dressed real nice. I said, God damn, you look good. You lost weight and shit. He goes, I married rich.
Norm Macdonald.
I like you, by the way, a lot, Ron.
Thank you very much.
Your show. I've always been a fan.
Norm Macdonald has
I don't know if you
a
remember
show.
meeting me or not, but go ahead.
No, I don't remember meeting you.
Okay.
Where?
It was at the Boston Catch a Rising Star.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, the New York Catch a Rising Star. My
Yeah.
apologies. But go back to your paper.
No. I just suddenly is everybody impressed that I don't remember meeting Norm? They're like, hey.
By the way, this is his paper.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. The same guy who set up the sound for this room gave me this paper. I'm going to bring this up, though, because, now we're ball busting a little bit.
Yeah.
When you had Jane Fonda on and you have your little blue cards,
Yeah.
You had a little shake going. You were a little nervous.
I get nervous as a
motherfucker. Do you really?
Oh, fuck yeah.
I was really, really surprised to see that. Yeah. So you're a giant fan of hers.
Yeah. You know how it is like anybody that was a celebrity before I got in show business.
Exactly right.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And then anybody since, they could be the biggest star in the world. I go, what the fuck do I care?
Yeah. That is 100% true. I've had that experience so many times here. But
I talked to OJ one time. He's like, and he said, you know, they're still the haters.
Yeah.
But he said 99% of people love the juice.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, he's not lying.
Yeah.
He's not lying. Because, you know, you think if you saw the juice, maybe you think, I know I wouldn't, that you go up to him, you murderer, people don't do that.
No.
You know, that takes a special type of person. What you do is like, selfie!
Yeah.
So in his head, he thinks everybody likes him.
Yeah. Well, I was, obviously when he played football, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then I didn't follow much after that.
Oh, you
so,
did?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I didn't keep up with the
So
news.
when you're asked, you say the only thing he's guilty of is being the best running back in the history of the NFL, as far as I know.
Adam is here with you today.
Adam Egan, my trusty sidekick.
He is your sidekick, and Adam, here's Mike. Your part of the desk is just a little lower than everyone else's.
Oh, sorry. That was a very nice touch. Yeah, the kids' table.
Yeah.
Smaller.
So how have you felt about the last week of publicity? You were inside and outside at the same time.
Oh, you mean the last day of publicity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Norm just did Stern, and I think he said everything he needed to say, and that he truly believes and feels, and all the people that are close to him know, that he just doesn't have the capacity to feel certain ways that I'm hearing conveyed on Twitter and some other places, and I think that Norm really did a great job. You did a great job clearing the air today.
I never got into comedy to hurt anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes people go at a show, they'll go, please attack my brother, make him feel like a piece of shit, because it's his wedding day.
Yeah.
And I go, I don't really like to do that. And then one time I did this roast of Bob Saget, and it became a sort of a thing because I didn't do roast jokes because I don't like insulting people, and I certainly never got into show businesses to ever hurt anybody, and it just made me really, really sad when this thing happened, where you just ask question after question after question, and then I guess I slipped up and maybe said something that people took wrong, but I apologized to them, and it's the last reason I want to be on this earth.
Sure. And this kind of backlash happens so fast now because of social media, and Adam, I know you've been involved with the Comedy Store for a long time, but when Louis jumped up at the Comedy Cellar the other night, a couple weeks ago, the Cellar's taken a lot of heat from people who were not necessarily customers.
Right.
People
Yeah.
on, the other side of the country or whatever. And we didn't, we never had that kind of thing happen before.
No.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I did not know this, and maybe you do. Comedians have gone up against Louis.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to some
comedians have said this guy should not be able to ever perform again.
Yeah, I taught, they all come.
If you're a murderer, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
go.
Sorry, I'm sorry. But if you're a murderer, you go to jail and they let you off, 20 years later. And then you try to get a job as a busboy. And if the guy says, I'm not hiring that guy, he murdered, and you go, but he did his penance, and now you give him a job. That's the humane thing to do. And people go, well, what about the murdered person? And you go, well, of course, he got worse.
Yeah.
The guy that lost his life, he's doing worse. but it doesn't mean you can't forgive or it's impossible to forgive. I also don't feel anyone owes me an apology in public. You know, I think personally that you owe an apology to anybody that you did ill to. You owe an apology to people that your actions hurt in a financial way or an emotional way. But nobody owes me an apology, you know.
So that's where your shock about comedians comes from.
Yeah, because I don't understand why they're so, you know. I guess I just don't understand how there can be no rules. You know, if the rules are drawn out and set down, then that's one thing. But you know, I always thought the audience would decide whether you're an objectionable comic or even a good comic. You know, and so. Louis went up here at the Comedy Cellar, and the audience let him know. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. But if the audience don't like him, then the club won't book him. I mean, that's how things work. And, you know, just because your heart can break for more than one person at the same time, you know, and a person can do a bad thing and you can feel sorry for that person while feeling worse for the person that had the bad thing done to them. This is all so self-evident. It's hard for me to unpack, but I wanted to use the word unpack.
Well, you know, we also always think of comedians being 100% free speech and stuff like that. And I don't know whether you followed this at the New Yorker Festival, but they had Steve Bannon booked to come in and do an interview, and all the big comedians said, I'm not going to be there if somebody interviews Steve Bannon. And, you know, and it wasn't a thing of, hey, we're giving an award to Steve Bannon, but it was a chance for somebody from the New Yorker to interview him, and who knows what direction that would have went into. But people like Judd Apatow and I'm trying to think of who, Patton Oswalt I know was in it, and even Jimmy Fallon, they all said, well, we won't perform. We won't come in and do the panel. And I'm always surprised by that angle.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel, my brother's a foreign correspondent, and he did a 4-year documentary on neo-Nazis, and he interviewed all the neo-Nazis in the world, from the Ernst Zundel all the way up to David Irving, and he didn't become a Nazi, you know, at all.
Right.
And so I think people go, you know, I certainly wouldn't be a Nazi by hearing this, but Americans, you know, other than me, Americans are just people that will believe whatever they hear, and I think that's nonsense, you know. I think that if there was a Nazi, a person could go watch him because it seems like an entertaining thing, you know. Just the same way you listen to a guy screaming on the corner of the street. You stop and listen to him.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I would agree with you, except for I learned from your show that Adam was in a cult for 3 years. So I guess some people are easily molded.
I just want to stress it was not a Nazi cult.
You know, these cult leaders, they have a good gig going.
Yeah, yeah.
And they all fall for the same trap. which is they start fucking everybody.
Yeah.
And if
I
you
was
just
not in that cult
Yeah.
either.
you have a good life.
Yeah.
People show up. They give you all your
Yeah,
worldly
everything.
goods. You got
Yeah.
all the money, and then you start having sex with the
Yeah.
ladies. Then, drunk with power, you're not even gay. You start having sex with the men as well, and and then people go, "Hey, I was watching Fred fuck your wife the other day, and I was thinking, any chance he's not Jesus?"
So, are you still with the store?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
So, when you,
by the way,
yeah.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
but I love stand-up comedy so much. Adam made the store great.
Yeah,
it was in real tough
yeah.
shape, and he really single-handedly turned it around. So.
It was a group effort, but thank you, Norm.
Well, yeah, I would have thought the room would have applauded. But I guess,
no,
I guess
they
we're
don't.
on the East Coast.
Yeah, the East. I was just gonna say we're in New York. Well, I think the cellar is the closest.
Yeah.
And God, I love the guys at the stand. They do great work. Like I think that New York and L.A. I mean, there's really, it's always been New York and L.A. for them.
Right, they're different though.
Yeah, they're
as you
wildly
always say.
different.
But would you be in a position if somebody controversial said that was a big name, I want to go on?
Well, Roseanne was scheduled to come in
Yeah.
last week, and she didn't show up. I know she's going through.
You're not helping.
Well,
yeah.
I think that I agree with a lot of what you guys have said about free speech, and I'm a strong believer in, especially in comedy. I mean, it seems like the last place that you can truly have some free speech, or should, and good God, it's comedy. I mean, people are trying to you're trying to make people laugh, and it's unfortunate when all the outrage is over that.
And this has happened for so long.
Yeah.
I remember when I was starting out, Andrew Dice Clay was a big thing. And I remember talking to Kinnison because he didn't like being compared to Andrew. You know what I mean? And I thought he had the perfect line. He called Andrew a stag act. That was like the perfect description. But people would be women. Oh my God, I can't believe what he said. I said, and I go, well, he just said he fucked Mother Goose.
Right. Yeah. So there's no one, Adam. You wouldn't put? Would you put Cosby up?
No, I personally wouldn't put Cosby up. Luckily, it's not I don't own the club.
Yeah.
And luckily I don't have to make that call.
But if they put Cosby up, what would you do that night?
I would do nothing. I need to make a living.
Oh,
if they decide that's their club,
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
That was the
Cosby.
Nuremberg defense. I think.
By the way, doesn't Adam have one of the best speaking voices
Oh, it's
that you've
beautiful.
ever? Just literally.
It's like Welsh.
Yes,
like,
it's amazing.
Richard
You
Burton,
should be you
Dylan
should-
Thomas.
Yeah, you should be doing poetry on stage.
That's right.
I disagree, but thank you.
So, how did you guys come together with this show? How did this?
We've been friends for a long time. I met him at Tempe Improv, which was the best club in the country in my mind. I mean, I don't like theaters. I like comedy clubs, and he was the manager there, and then he moved to LA, and we were friends. And when I said at a talk show, I said it'd be fun to do. I like the sidekick paradigm from when I was a kid little boy watching Johnny Carson. And it's funny, that you got this guy and then the sidekick sort of averse to the host and is a little scared of him. But it's all playful. Yeah. And I said, but what if you just got a guy and amplified that and just fucking abused him mercilessly. And so that's why I didn't want to get a comedian. I didn't want anybody that would blow back at me. And but an interesting thing happens because it's me, Adam, and the guest, and it's some sort of sociology experiment because within 10 minutes, Judge Judy is fucking calling him an idiot. You know what I mean? Like people, you got a bully and a bullied. Yeah. And a third person goes, I'll go with the bully.
Well, that we learned in school, right? In like first grade, like even if you weren't a bully, it's better to be like, hey, that kid is fucking weird looking. That's true.
Yeah,
you know, that's the way that you get comfortable in life. So well done, Adam. Just well done.
How do you get comfortable? Say that part again.
Well, I'm saying, like, even if you're not the bully, it's great to know someone else is being bullied because that gives you your own safety net.
Oh right.
You know,
right.
so
there's a trick stand-up comedians do. I was thinking of writing a book, How to Be a Stand-Up Comedian. No comedy necessary. Because I would go around at clubs, you know, and I go, that guy looks familiar. Yeah, he was the bouncer last week, you know.
Yeah.
And they just watch and they learn the tricks. But one is this mob control. You know, I don't know a lot of the tricks. I wish I did, but like you'll take a guy in the front row, like this guy with the hat, you know, the fucking hat, and so everybody else in the fucking crowd goes, "Oh my god, I got a hat here too." So I don't want to be pointed out, so I'll fucking also jump on this guy, and it's just these little mob control techniques that these alleged stand-up comedians use.
Well, there are. I mean, occasionally you will meet the comedian who wasn't the funny guy in his neighborhood. You know what I mean? He's a guy who works real hard and probably would have made it in any business because he works real hard, but he just happened to have picked comedy.
Yes.
But you don't want to be stuck in this situation with that guy. You know what I mean? Because it's always about his prepared stuff.
That's different from being a funny person, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That you learn it. Yeah. This is what I always thought about the Harvard Lampoon or the National Lampoon. When I was a boy, Mad Magazine we would read. I'm sure you did.
Yes.
Cracked and Sick and all those Mad Magazine types, and then move on to National Lampoon. And it's kind of sad to me that kids don't have that anymore. They have The Onion, but that's just the headline. But anyways, it was sort of the way you grew up, and I'm sorry, what were we talking about?
It's about being funny, naturally funny.
That when I went to Saturday Night Live, I got to meet some of these geniuses from my youth reading comedy. So it was Michael O'Donoghue, and there was Steve O'Donnell, and there was Jim Downey. And God damn, these guys were fucking geniuses. So, and it's because they went to Harvard, like Jim Downey, a very good friend of mine. He went to Harvard, and he took Russian literature. And he was so fucking smart, this guy, you know, so smart that he decided to learn Russian so he could understand the Russian literature better. So, 20 minutes later, he learned Russian. So then on his off time, and this is what I heard from all the guys there at the time, on the off time, they go over to the Harvard Lampoon and scribble a story, and it was hysterical, and those guys, Conan was one of those guys. And then Harvard became a place where it was like, I'm going to go to Harvard to be a comedy writer.
Right.
And that's where...
Yeah.
That's where everything went off the tracks. Because when I first got to L.A., everybody in every writing room was a Harvard guy, and I remember telling my agent, I go, I can't talk to a fucking Harvard guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I got 8th grade education. What the fuck am I gonna say? I thought it'd be so funny I wouldn't be able to understand their jokes, and then I met them, and they're just rich. I didn't know that's the way it worked. Yeah. But they became professional, and they weren't funny, but they had studied it.
Right, they have the humor math down.
The humor math down, yeah. But I remember Tommy was sort of telling me, he said, we can teach anything in baseball. We can teach but one thing we can't teach is speed. And I feel that sometimes with comedy.
Right.
You can learn every trick, every haiku, but you're either funny or you're not.
Yeah.
You can't learn that.
And I always prefer people that are just, they can't do anything else but this,
yes.
you know?
And that's what these old guys, we had a guy on a sitcom once, and his name was Jerry Belson, and he was, you'll see his credit with Gary Marshall's on The Odd Couple. And he'd come in and he just pitched jokes. And then, everything's about story now. Well, what about the guy's got to have feelings for the girl? It's all these love stories and everything. You go, because he had The Odd Couple. He goes, we had two guys. One was messy, one was neat. They needed to get laid. We had the Pigeon sisters upstairs. So, but he said that everybody thought he was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, if you said you were a comedy writer, people are like, "What the fuck? That doesn't exist."
Yeah.
Now it's what are you gonna? Your son gonna be a lawyer, a doctor, a comedy writer.
Right. Because all those jobs lead to producing, and that's what the Harvard kids are thinking about. It's like I can have 2 or 3 of these shows going, and I can be incredibly rich.
Sure.
And you're like, yeah, but what?
And I'm sure you've been in comedy rooms many times. The head writer is never the funniest writer. Mm. He's the political guy that can talk to the network. And naturally, actual comedy writers by nature are isolates and not very good socially, so they don't rise up.
Yeah.
To make the money, but they tell the jokes that the rich guys use.
Well, the entire time on SNL, you were pretty much a contrarian. You didn't seem like you were playing the political game very well at NBC. Like when people would say, "Don't do OJ jokes," you'd give them 3 or 4 that night.
I did what Lorne Michaels told me to do. Lorne Michaels was my boss, and Lorne Michaels hired me, and I would never do anything that Lorne didn't say. There were people that I was very naive, and there were people hanging around the hallways in blue suits. I thought they were pages. Mm-hmm. Turned out they were super powerful people. But they wouldn't introduce themselves, so they go like, and everything. You need to tell me something straight out. I don't know nuance. I have dog whistles for racism.
Yes,
you got to straight out tell me. You're a racist. You need to use a whistle. And even whistles I don't hear. Anyways, so but they would tell me, you guys should lighten up, maybe on the OJ joke, and I go, thanks. Can you get me a cup of coffee? Because I thought they were pages.
Right.
I didn't know. So, but Lauren was my boss, and anything that Lauren said, I did. I did that with all my bosses. They own the cameras, and I'm not stupid enough to think that I should be allowed to do anything on television, or anything or anywhere. People always like to ask comedians, like, is there anything off limits? And I always think that most things are off limits. At least for me, most things are off limits.
Until you can find that really funny thing about it that everybody would enjoy, because there are topics that are so off limits, and then I see somebody come up with something, and I go, well, that's brilliant. You know what I mean? Right. You say, oh, there could be a cancer joke, but then sometimes you see somebody pulls off a cancer joke that a guy with cancer is going, that's amazing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
You nailed it.
Right.
But it has to be that joke. You have to be that good at it. And
it's often not a joke about cancer. It's often a joke about
the experience of
anything. It could be anything. It could be a joke about pride, or it could be a joke about shame. It just happens to have cancer in it, But that's what's so hard is people ask you to defend these offensive jokes, and usually the offensive jokes are fucking the worst joke you've ever heard.
Right? Yeah.
So
they missed.
Yeah. You don't really want to.
Well, you brought that up after the first guy does it. Everybody thinks, let's go there. That happened, I think, with Kinnison, where he was doing, religious material, but people didn't realize his background was amazingly, religious. And he found spots that everybody could go, oh, that's really, really funny, because he knew what the hell he was talking about.
That's really true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember, and the agenda of the joke was being funny, which I think has to be the first thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, his religious stuff is the funniest stuff because it's not about, making fun of evangelists.
Right.
Is not
but it was also, I always thought his stuff was like Jesus having to put up with us.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
that was
always the funniest part of that joke, that he would be screaming at us. And I could fucking totally get that.
Yeah, of course.
I can't imagine how frustrating it must have been.
And the lepers, or the blind coming in to be healed, and he's like,
can I have a moment to myself? Everybody was bothering him wherever he went. How did you get the guests for this Netflix show that you have? Because it's a pretty amazing group of people that you're able to pull together.
Yeah. Strangely, I became friends with Ted Sarandos. There's only, I don't have that many friends. And Ted was real nice to me, and we shared a lot of interests and stuff. And he wanted me to do something. And I wrote a book, and he read the book. What guy reads any book? But anyways, he liked it, and I was so blown away by that he took the time. And then he said I was his favorite comic. And I said, how about you give me $20 million?
We know you got it.
Exactly.
We read the papers.
But turns out he's also a businessman. But so he wanted me to do something, maybe make that book into a movie. And we were trying to figure out what I could do, because I can't do much. And then Letterman came in for his own show and said Norm should do a talk show, And then I said, well, Letterman knows everything. I should go with him. And but it's a talk show. Letterman's been of such help to me because he knows what I can do and what I can't, And so he gave me so much great advice for this show. And he even said, like he said, I'm not giving you advice on how to be a great interviewer because you'll never be able to do that. But so he goes, a lot of this advice is going to be completely counter to what a broadcaster or an interview such as yourself should do. And he said, just make it a conversation. And
it's the most casual thing I've ever seen on TV. You guys come walking out together.
Yeah.
You offer a beverage. You kind of start the show halfway through. So it really is. It seems like it's everything that I see on TV, especially with talk shows, is so overly rehearsed and done. It's very, very tight.
Right.
But yours has enough breathing room that something could happen. Doesn't always happen, but it could happen.
Right, it could.
Yeah.
Lori Jo, I don't know where Lori Jo is, but she was kind of the brains behind the idea of the show. And I've been working with her for 20 years or so, and she was saying, like, every time you do a talk show, people always ask the same thing. They go, except for my father. Something just occurred to me. The first time I ever did Letterman, the other guy, it was me and a guy that made potato chips that looked like presidents. Like one looked like Richard Nixon, sort of. Not that much. Looked more like a potato chip. But anyways, my mother was like, oh, how proud she was of me. And she goes, oh, your dad wants that. And my dad's like, did you get to meet that guy with the chips? But anyways, what I was going to say was, what was I going to say?
Lori Jo.
Oh, no, that Lori Jo said, you know what everybody asks you all the time, and I'm sure you've heard this, is what goes on in the commercials. What does Letterman talk to you about? And so she said, we should have that show, but also the show behind the show. So, we don't have commercials, but people need to have breathing room. So we say we'll take a break, and then we just tape that, and then
It's so.
And I almost got Spade because Spade is the guy I really wanted to get. And so he told me a story during the break, and then I said, "Okay, we're back. Tell that story." And then he almost did, but there's something inside him that's candy enough to have not fallen for it.
You know what? One of my favorite moments was too is you were talking about Letterman. You know, do you ever hop up? And he said he couldn't because of nerves, and you brought up nerves. And then you told an amusing thing about Jay, how comfortable Jay Leno is, and you saw such joy in Dave's eyes laughing about Jay that there's still something between those two guys, because that's been the big strange divorce of our whole lives.
It sure has. And I wanted to get Dave and Jay together for the show, and almost did it, but didn't turn out that way. But hopefully in season 2, we'll get Jay.
Well, you could see that it's there's something there, particularly as you get older. You're like, who gives a shit anymore? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like I've seen that happen so many times with people in my family who weren't talking, and then all of a sudden they're older and they're like, I don't even fuck it. You know what I mean?
Right. Old man.
Yeah.
It's like there's that trope about like as in country songs stuff. The old man at the end of the bar, and he's been there 30 years, still thinking about that lady, and at some point you go, probably the booze too. Because when I meet old men, I go, nobody go. I never met an old man go. Think you're still thinking about Ruth. It's like, they're thinking about their fucking knee and shit.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I think those guys. And I think Leno kind of understood it immediately. He doesn't take it seriously at all.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know. It seems like the first time they ever saw him now with his car show, he seems happier than he was 30 years of having the biggest, late night show.
Yeah, he doesn't see things as, like I remember once during a commercial, he's like, hey, no, I want to meet you. This guy's some guy in the front. Yeah, the guy sells hot dogs in Minneapolis. I'm like, oh, that's nice. He goes, no, I was a comedian. But it really is like that to him.
Yeah.
It's just two guys that have different things. And he's also got a thing that's really funny that it's like practical, but supra practical, where like he'll go, like one time we're you sit there and you watch the band who's there, and he's just stomping his foot like this, and he goes, hey, buy one of those CDs. And I go, yeah, sure, I bought CDs. Yeah. He goes, what's that? Like, you just turn the radio on, you're free music. And then one day, one time I decided to jog to get in shape, and I was talking to him and his wife, and the tiger's chasing, dog is chasing, run. But he was like my swimming pool, I swim to one end of the end. Swim to the And his wife's like, yeah, Jay, the only time he ever gets in the swimming pool is to rake the leaves out.
Yeah. Well, he always bragged about not spending his salary, his nightshade salary. I'm just like, fucking spend it, Jay.
Holy
it's yours.
God almighty.
What are you worried about?
It's strange.
You're not going to run out of money, dude. Spend some of it. You also said with this show that you wanted to have Robert Blake on.
That's my dream guest. Yeah, we had a producer that fucked it up. We had a producer that we almost had him. He was saying how he only did the classy shows.
Yeah.
And I said we were on. This guy pretends he can get anybody. This producer. We go, just keep him on, keep talking. And then this moron of a producer, he goes, I gotta go now, Robert. I'll phone you tomorrow. I gotta take my wife to dinner. They wasn't making a joke.
Yeah,
but
that was it.
Idiotic thing to say.
Yeah, I get it. Set up. Now, what is it about?
I like that Robert Blake's. This is what I like most about Robert Blake is his alibi. He's like, how could I have been the guy to shoot her? I was. Everybody saw me. I was getting my gun. That worked as an alibi.
That worked.
I always loved that.
Yeah. Now, were you a fan of his as an actor, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really made me understand O.J. Simpson.
Yeah.
Because when I was on Saturday Night Live, there was some black staff members. And they'd say they thought O.J. was innocent. I go, really? Yeah. Like all that blood evidence? You're sure it's not just because, he's a black guy and you're a black guy and police have been treating black guys bad? Is that what it is? Because I can understand that. No, we think he's innocent. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of strange. But then when when Robert Blake went up, I love Beretta.
Yeah.
And I want him to get on.
Yeah, you want to.
And after that, I was like, "Oh, I get it. Sure,
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Of course, if Robert Blake had been in prison, I would have been rioting."
And people forget Mickey. When he was on the Little Rascals, Mickey was the greatest.
Yeah. Watch In Cold Blood.
Yeah.
After,
Yeah. So is that now? Who is like somebody that you're dying to get on the show? Somebody?
We try to get OJ, and he's I guess he's represented by his lawyer in Arizona.
Yeah.
And so the guy phones him, and the lawyer is like, "Oh yeah, he'll do it. Sure, absolutely." And I'm like, "Wow, that's super great." And then he phones back. He goes, "Yes, are you the Norm Macdonald?" And I was like, yeah. And then he said, OJ said that you were particularly rough on him. There's a moment of OJ is one of the funniest things. They got him on. I wish I could remember the Chris Myers. I think it was Chris Myers on ESPN, and he had the first interview with OJ that was an hour long, and he asked him about the entire timeline. And then right at the end, he goes, "Thanks to O.J. Simpson." O.J.'s like, "Yeah, thanks for all the football questions." He thought it was going to be like...
I was doing radio the day that the trial was coming back, and we just randomly called 7 different continents. And every continent knew the story and was waiting. We would call like a Ramada Inn in some place, and we would say, "Is he guilty?"
The
or
trial,
innocent? Yeah,
right.
the trial. The day that they said the verdict was coming in, and we asked the people, "Do you think he's guilty or innocent?" And if any country had any color to them whatsoever, innocent. And if it was a white country, Iceland, like, no, he's very guilty. But China, like, no, I don't think he did it. You know what I mean? And it was so fascinating to me. We really, that was like the beginning, I think, of white people being shocked of, maybe we don't get everything all the time.
That people always go like Fox News. Is it racist or is it? Here's why I think Fox News is racist. Maybe they hire a guy to be their expert on all criminal. If any crime happens, they bring in their expert, Mark Furman.
Yeah.
Guy's only known for one thing.
Yeah.
They may as well Mark Furman racist. They may as well just say that may as well be his.
Yeah.
When they describe people, I saw Bill Maher one time, and it was Richard Belzer, and you can just tell them how you want to be described. And I said Richard Belzer, conspiracy theorist, and I was like, everyone, like don't you lose your cred after a while if you're like.
Well, he's written books. Belzer has written books that go very deeply, and I've never heard him say, "I don't know this." I got to really just believe the official word on this one. Never.
I think he went with the Mort Saul kind of career move.
Yes. Do you ever get concerned when you hear like, "Oh, we should have Robert Blake on the show, does you ever think, oh shit, no? You know?
I had to call Robert once. I had to try and get him on there too. I was very excited for that. Yeah, we all tried. It was a full court press, but I was excited about that episode. Actually, I would have loved to seen those two together.
Because he was always a great interviewer. You know,
yeah,
he's out of his fucking mind.
Yeah, he did Carson constantly, and he had the unlit cigarette all the time.
There you go. Let me tell you about the men in the suits.
Yeah, he was such an expert on any topic.
Yeah,
when he was on every single topic.
I was disappointed when he didn't show up, but we, silver lining, we got Fred Stoller that day.
Is there somebody?
It was one of my favorite episodes, actually.
Is there somebody out there for you that you would think, oh, they would be perfect
for me? But we don't.
Smiths,
it doesn't
right?
mesh. Yeah, I love Morrissey, but I don't even know. Not Morrissey. Noel Gallagher. I think he's the funniest guy. He's just so charismatic.
Oh, is he not a musician?
Yeah, he's a musician.
Yes.
Oh, and Iggy Pop. I think you would love Iggy Pop.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think that would be.
I'll tell you this Spade episode was incredibly
that's good.
funny.
Thank you.
Incredibly funny.
What I liked about the Spade episode is it kind of got he captured what we were trying to get in the show, which was the show and the show behind the show at the same time. And I thought really only two people that are the embodiment of that. One is Spade and one's Marty Short, where nobody knows that show business is more complete bullshit than Spade.
Right. But they both love it so much. They love the shit out of it.
It's so in show business.
Exactly.
So it's a funny dynamic, because usually the person that has contempt for show business is like Letterman or something, that just cordons himself off in a compound somewhere. But Spade's on every red carpet. He took me to these fucking bars. I don't know how people have the I'm just always tired.
Yes.
And he's like, let's go. We'll go to a bar. I just did this one night with him. We go to a bar, and then he's like, come on, come with me. And you butt in to the bar.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, and people go, get out of the way. These guys were on the TV. And you're like, So then you're in this bar, you're fucking all close. There's a guy half a foot from you.
Yeah.
And then Spade goes, let's go. And you're like, what? And then you go to another place, and then 8 places later, nothing has been accomplished. And I'm so tired. But he said it's all about being seen, all about that stuff, It's funny because I was trying to do the math, because I've been to 6 Hollywood parties in my life, and I got 2 jobs. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So then part of me said, what if I'd done 6,000? Because this is what happens. People don't know you're fucking alive and shit, right? And so I did this one time after I did a show. I said, I'm going to take a year off. I take a year off. No one assumes you took a year off show business. They assume that you got kicked out of show business.
Right.
And you have to start all over again. And so I said, God damn, I'm going to start going to parties and, get a third of the time, because people that next day, they go, hey, man, you know who we should get? That fucking guy that fell into the swimming pool. Or whatever. But I just I wouldn't be able to write, and I write a lot. That's why I'm not very good, as you can tell, socially. I stutter, and I'm not too good. But
so you literally
most time I'm alone writing.
But do you can't go into that party and kind of turn on the Norm stage act? You can't suddenly be that guy. Yeah,
I can do it, but it's exhausting. It's
right. It's like doing a 4-hour set.
It's like when Jesus was touched by the lepers. He'd lose some of his power. I don't like comparing myself to Jesus, but if everybody's going to do it.
Is there a goal that you had that you never got a chance to reach? Is there something that you said, oh, I really...
In show business?
In show business, something that you'd hope that you have gotten a chance to
do? I mean, I would love to start now, in show business, because when I began, I was always like, I never wanted to do anything but stand-up comedy. And I said, I want to do stand-up comedy and then become a big stand-up comedy star and only do that. But it quickly became evident that you can't make enough money. So, you advance for a while and then somebody says, hey, what about this? You know how you're really good at stand-up. What about if you do something you're terrible at? And we'll pay you 10 times as much.
Yeah.
And you'll act and you'll fall in love with the girl. And then I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And then so what I told Ted Sarandis this. I said, you've really done something good by giving $20 million to these comedians, Chappelle and a couple others. And because it's made, it's taken this, what's always been considered a vulgar art, stand-up, and it's made now a person can go, I want to be a stand-up, just like a person could say, I want to be a novelist or I want to be an actor. Mm-hmm. I want to be a stand-up. That's all I want to be. And that's what I wished maybe I had done, but I didn't have the guts to. I had a kid and I had to feed. But nowadays, I would certainly advise stand-ups to just aim at that.
It's really rare. I mean, it's a very short list of guys that can draw big just from doing stand-up. I mean, I think Carlin was that guy, yep. And Brian Regan today is that guy where his audience shows up for him, yep. And without have ever seen him, do a sitcom or a movie.
Isn't
or
that funny? Like, they always ask lists. They always have lists they love listing stand-up comedians. Mm-hmm. And who's the funniest? Every once in a while, the funniest man in the world. And you go, but he's been around for years,
right?
But anyways, in these lists, somehow, clearly the best comic in the world is Brian Regan, without question. Sure. You don't need a comedian to say that. You need just anyone that's ever watched him to say that, And yet I never see him on those lists.
No, it is, and it's because of the people who write those lists aren't exactly people that care about stand-up comedy.
Unfortunately, it's not. There's some guy at the Times named Zinnemann. I don't know if you know him, but he seems to know a little about stand-up comedy. But it would be nice if I know stand-up comedy is a very, very new art form, if you want to call it an art form. I don't think it is an art personally, but it's great. I think what Ted Sarandis did specifically in getting a whole bunch of money to Chappelle.
If you don't think it's art, what do you think it is?
Well, I think it's craft. Because the only reason I say it's not art is because art allows for interpretation, right? But if you do stand-up comedy, you can't have people interpreting it differently. You can't have this guy laughing at this part, this guy laughing over here, this guy laughing. You know what I mean? You can't have different layers of laughter. Right. Your job is to say it and then make a noise, right? And then say something else and then make another noise. And that's craft, obviously. That's craft. Where I guess it can ascend into art is subject matter. Mm-hmm. I guess that would be the only, if you can reveal something.
What about for you, Adam? You feel the same way? It's not art, or?
I think it's a little blurred. I could see both sides. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that there's art to it, but I understand a lot of what Norm just said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, art is, I guess, like a person who takes a very simple idea and explores that idea to its which I feel the best stand-ups do. that's an intellectual exercise. Take something simple and make it incredibly complicated and look at all the minutiae. Art, I feel, is to take something incredibly complicated and reduce it to a line, and I think that's how I would define art. And so that's pretty hard to do in stand-up. People have done it. Not for their whole acts, but people.
Yeah, just every once in a while catch that thing that is just.
Catch that truth.
Yeah, that truth that everybody immediately changes. You know what I mean? Immediately we'll be able to go, oh, I thought I felt that way about it.
That's the amazing
I now
part.
feel this way
Yeah.
about it. And then you'll hear that being kind of taken and working into. I remember when Louis did the thing of saying, I hate my kid. Like the first time I heard that, it was shocking.
Yeah.
And then I heard
you hear it a lot now,
you
right?
hear newscasters saying it. My kid's a dick, and everyone laughs. Kinnison would give him a sandwich.
Yes.
That thing started to just move. Not even other comics stealing it, but politicians. And then you would go, okay, so everyone's moved over.
So it's cool that that person, even though they got stolen. It's like that with impressions sometimes. Like, people would all, Dana did the impression of Carson. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And then people would go, I did not know that. You go, well, you're really stealing that from Dana. Like,
that's when you have a great impressionist. He cracks that thing, but then everybody else starts at that point.
Yes.
So they're like,
when I was a kid, nobody could do Bob Hope.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? No,
yeah.
Now everybody can do it.
But with I remember with Dana, you just have people starting with not can that.
Yeah.
And you're like, he doesn't even talk that way. That's Dana finding a funny place to go with that.
I was so shocked because I remember because Reagan was the president, and I was like, the vice president is nobody's going to be able to do him. He has nothing. And so Dana just made it up from scratch. It's so funny.
You're really enjoying doing this show, though. This is, you think, something you want to do for a while, right?
I would love to do it forever, because Lori, who I work with, I don't know where she is, but she and I have always worked together, and she said, let's, because I was real good friends with Ted Sarandis, which was strange, and Dave, and I said, this is a chance to work with people that are friends, and then she said, let's just hire. Everybody we hire will be our friends. Because as everybody knows, whenever you work together, if there's one bad person, that person becomes the person that everyone else talks about. I don't know what it is about human nature. You're like, motherfucking Marcy.
Well, I think Lori is trying to make sure all your other interviews don't get canceled. So
well, thank you, Ron.
We'll get you on The View.
This is so awesome. You're such a great interviewer. I always love watching you.
Thank you.
And
Norm Macdonald has a show, and like I said, even though all this controversial stuff is happening, this is just a funny, silly show that these guys do. Adam, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having us.
It was really great.
Yeah, thanks for putting that on.
Norm Macdonald, everybody, let him hear it. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, buddy. That was really great. Thank you so much, Al. Really, really nice.